I'd like to call to order the Yreka City Council meeting. I'm going to open it up right now for public comments. No public comments. I'm going to close it and we will go into close. Sir Jason. Okay. All righty, I'd like to call to order the Yreka City Council meeting. Before we get started, we had closed session this evening. Before we started, two of the items we had, real property negotiations and conference of legal counsel on anticipated litigation. And Don is going to weigh in on what decision making on that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There was a motion made by Councilmember Baird, seconded by Councilmember Middleton, unanimously passed by the City Council to authorize the initiation of litigation concerning the real property located at 1407 Oakville Circle to abate nuisances present at that property.
Thank you, Don. All right, we will get started. Let's all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Here now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. I'd like to see a full crowd here. It's awesome. Before we get started, I would like for everybody to silence their cell phones so we don't have any interruptions. We're going to go right into public comments. Citizens participating is welcome to invited to the city meeting. Council meetings time is reserved at each regular meeting for those in audience who wish to address the city council. The city requests that the persons addressing the city council refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. Public comments is not intended to be a question and answer period. Conversations with the council or city staff. Council members, when recognized by the mayor, may ask questions of presenter, but no action may be taken by the city council during the public comment section of this meeting. Under the Brown Act, the city council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the or posted on the agenda. If you have any public comments, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address if you do wish to do so. So if there are any public comments at this point in time that's not on the agenda, this is anything that's not on the agenda. I want to.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that when the presentation is done about the pool,
Yes,
that we will have an opportunity after
Absolutely.
the presentation to do it.
absolutely.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Yes.
Have you had one on Zoom?
But we do have one on Zoom. Okay.
Hi, thank you. My comment is also about the pool, so I defer to you about whether to provide that comment now or wait until your later agenda item.
It would be more appropriate during the comment section of the pool topic. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. All righty. Any other public comments at this point in time that's not related to something on the agenda?
We do have one other on the Zoom call.
Okay.
KBTV, you should be able to speak.
Hello there. Maybe.
Are they muted?
Should be able to unmute themselves.
Okay. Well, then if they're not unmuting themselves, and we will move on. Anybody else for public comments? Okay. Nothing? Okay, well then we will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent. They did? Okay, well, we'll give them the opportunity then. Thank you. Yes, you're on. They cannot hear me. That's all right.
Oh, they're still muted. He can't hear you. Ring can't. Oh, that's right. We're on the wrong
I
side.
heard you.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. The deaf man did hear you. Nothing yet, Juliana?
Well, it says that their audio is going, but we do not have the sound.
Have you got your sound turned up? Is the sound turned up on your computer?
We did have Yreka chime in on Zoom already, so.
We just heard from somebody, so it's not it. Okay, we're gonna move on. We can't wait all night. Sorry. If they can hear us, sorry, but we have to move on. All right, we'll go back to consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine, non-controversial, and will be enacted under one motion unless a member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. I'm gonna go through the list and we are gonna open something up on this one because there is something that's very important. A, approval ratification of payments issued from March 1st, 2022 through March 27th, 22. Cash and fiscal reports, cash balances reports from February 2022, budget and revenue expenditures with year-to-date actuals through February 28th, 2022, fiscal performance report as of February 28th, 2022. C, adopt resolution for designating the use of American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds under final rule. Approval of the 4/5/2022 Yreka City of Yreka investment policy for the fiscal years ending in 2021-22. E, approve the appointment of, oh, this is a good one, Mariana M. Trujillo, is that right? Trujillo? Okay, thank you. To the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on March 15th, 2022, and continuation of urgency ordinance number 865 fireworks. Let me flip over, and H, continuation urgency resolution number 2021-51 remote public meetings. And I waive all full text readings, all ordinances on agenda. Ordinances shall be introduced and adopted by title only. So I would like to bring up Chief Lemus on the number E, of course, for the appointment. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. It's my pleasure to introduce Mariana Trujillo as our most recent candidate for selection into the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department. She is a Yreka native and will be starting with, again, she's been a seasonal with CAL FIRE for some time. And so we've been seeing her on calls and recognize her exemplary service and her dedication to the fire service. So we picked her up as a volunteer and she's more than willing to join us crazy crew at YFD. So anyway, we highly recommend her appointment at this time. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Have any questions by the council other than
Welcome.
congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you on board. Yeah, we will. Awesome. Is there any other comments? Then go ahead if there are any motions.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar as written.
I'll second the motion. This is Council Member Joan Smith Freeman.
All right. Okay, I will do roll call then. Joan Smith Freeman,
Aye.
Paul McCoy,
Aye.
Corey Middleton,
Aye.
Debbie Baird,
Aye.
and I, Dwayne Kay. Awesome. Thank you so
Welcome.
much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Chief, for bringing some more people, man. You're getting a
Good
good
job.
crew built up now. That's awesome. Alrighty. Well, then we will go right into what I think most people are here for. This is a 9A discussion possible action, city manager, swim center, and native park. And we'll start this off with Jason.
Yeah, this is Jason Ledbetter, City Manager for the City of Yreka. So tonight I am here to discuss the Yreka Swim Center and Native Park. Juliana, next slide, please. So we are here tonight because we have had some pressure from the state wanting kind of final direction to start this grant process and start expending funds. And so I'm looking for final direction tonight because I fear that if we do not have some direction tonight, that at some point the state may come around and take the grant back. So we definitely need a motion if possible tonight. Next slide. So just a little background here that I think most of us are familiar with, but while Ringy Pool was in operation, the budget was roughly $35,000 annually from the city, and then also $35,000 from Splash for a total of roughly $70,000 annually. Obviously, the degradation of the infrastructure eventually led to the shutdown of Ringy Pool. Ringy Pool failure brought about a really high level of outreach when I first moved into town. Multiple meetings, great public outreach. A lot of the Splash and the public met with city staff at that time to attempt to fix or build a new pool. Multiple meetings were held with the city. They were organized with city staff. Many different ideas, many different funding streams were discussed through this process. And eventually a grant opportunity was decided on as a method to move forward in an attempt originally to fix Ringy Pool. Next slide. So as part of that process internally with staff, the prior city manager brought forward in 2020 a possible tax revenue item for the formation of a parks district. But unfortunately at that time, this was the beginning of the global pandemic of COVID. I believe there was a 20% unemployment rate at the time. And so it was definitely decided to table this item because it seemed unfeasible to go out to the public based off of the uncertainty of the time and ask for funding with a property tax assessment. This is very important. I'm going to come back to this item multiple times because I feel that it's a part of the failure of the normal process to fund any project within the city. So the City of Yreka grant application with input from Splash originally to fix Ringy Pool was originally denied. Then a second attempt was made and the grant was awarded for $8.5 million from the State Department of Parks and Recreation. But this grant application was obviously for an alternative site from Ringy. And it was determined to be more competitive in the grant process that a lower income site within the city of Yreka was determined. So the proposed park location is at Foothill and Sierra Vista. The park location was determined by available sites that met the grant terms for the surrounding income. And currently the site is the site that the county had originally thought that they would possibly build a jail on. It is still currently owned by the county of Siskiyou. And if we decide to move forward tonight, the first item that we will do would more than likely be site control and the purchase of the property. Next slide, please. So just for the background here is just a general map. You can see the blue highlighted perimeter. That is the Crossroads project. And the red perimeter is the site in question for the pool. Next slide. Then we have a proposed layout. So it's more than just a pool. It's a couple pools. And then also it's about 7.8 acres of new park on this site. So pretty expansive project, a pool house, obviously. I think there's an area to view butterflies, and it's really focused around native species and things that would hypothetically thrive well in our climate. Next slide. So coming on board, originally, I certainly was very aware of the pool. Internally, there were some questions about the long-term maintenance and operation cost of the pool. And so it was decided that it was in our best interest to meet with the organization that kind of helped write the grant, or the group that used to be referred to as Splash, and then a number of the public. We met regularly, maybe 3 or 4 times to discuss the operation and maintenance costs and to attempt to bridge the gap between what staff had as long-term costs and what the idea of the public input committee had as long-term costs. We originally settled at roughly $600,000. Excuse me. And then eventually it was decided that maybe we should kind of skim that down a bit, something that was more palatable. And so some concessions were made, and we then, next slide, please. We pretty much settled on the best case scenario being roughly $380,000. You can see it at the bottom of the screen there. That takes into account that we would have a $50,000 revenue stream from swim lessons and rentals, and possibly $10,000 coming in from fundraising. And also you can see within this concept here that I think $60,000, we would be seeking a parks director pretty much at this point. And $60,000 is not funded in here. And so technically we probably are closer to $500,000, in my opinion, still at the bottom of the hypothetical costs, but somewhere as a group, we have conceded that it's $380,000 to $500,000 annually to operate and maintain this pool. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, I think the number is slightly under the actual cost. We won't know really the true cost until we have a true engineer and design of this project. But we do know right now we don't have a parks director, so $60,000 really technically should be added back into the cost. And that's why I say that there's a gap between $380,000 and $500,000, because we don't currently have $60,000 available in salary to spend. So the operating and maintenance costs, in my opinion, costs are currently lowest possible estimations because we currently have no engineering estimate for operations and maintenance. And there would be annual budget cuts if no revenue stream was created. Currently, we have no dedicated revenue stream. That goes back to my initial point. Originally, the thought process was there would be a special district formed, and that we would go out for a property tax assessment at an upcoming election. That was abandoned in 2020. And then once again, $380,000 to $500,000 is really the best case guess scenario for the annual O&M cost for this project. Next slide, please. So no revenue stream and kind of the history of the options. Obviously in April 2020, the Parks District tax plan was brought to council and tabled. This original plan was beyond just the city limits of Yreka, so it looked at kind of a sphere, and it was looking at $96 on each of those in each of those properties for somewhere in the range of, I think, in between $400,000 and $500,000. It is my opinion and staff's opinion that if we were going to move forward, a property tax will need to be introduced for long-term annual operating and maintenance budget. A special tax such as this can be secured for specific projects such as a pool. So we could go out and ask for a tax, and for the end of time, as long as we get that revenue, it would always be dedicated to whatever specified projects, kind of similar to with the fire department getting $260,000 annually specifically for equipment. It would be along those same lines. Another idea that was discussed was the current sales tax rate for the city of Yreka is 7.75%, which is pretty much the baseline around the state. They go up to, I've seen at least 10.25 in more urban areas. A sales tax, generally speaking, from our assistant city manager and retired finance director, is roughly 33% of that money comes locally. So it hits the public that lives in the city of Yreka. Really, they would be providing 33% of the revenue that came into the city. 67% comes from people that are out of town and shopping in the city of Yreka. A sales tax increase of basically 0.5%, in my opinion, needs to be saved for a long-term strategy on hiring fire staff and dealing with COLAs and inflation as we go into bargaining. As an example, currently, when we look at the labor market and how tight the labor market is, the Reading Police Department is advertising at the moment for signing bonuses anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000, which is extremely concerning for the long-term ability for us to pull in talent, whether it be with the police department or whether it be just for general maintenance or the road crew. A 0.5% sales tax would bring in roughly $1 million annually. A sales tax is really a general tax, and you can't guarantee it for any specified funding. So if this city council wanted to specify the pool, they could work as a unit over the course of your tenure together. But if another city council was sat in the future, it's general fund money, and they can realign that funding in a different direction based on the needs of the city. So it's not specified as the special assessment or special district tax would be specified. Next slide. So currently we have no revenue stream, and I just want to kind of go over what I consider to be the proper pathway when someone in the public has an idea or staff has an idea. In my opinion, there would be interest from the public on a specific project. They would come to the council. Council would accept the idea that in principle, they wanted to pursue it. They would direct staff to come up with a plan. A feasibility and planning study would be created, kind of as we see with our planning director with the general plan. There would be a lot of outreach and data based around the project that we were about to undertake. And then eventually the cost for the project would become aware. And then we would determine a funding pathway that would be cuts to our general fund, or that would be a tax increase. And then we would take that possible tax measure and we would put it on the ballot, and democratically the citizens of either the sphere of influence or specifically in the city of Yreka, this would be their opportunity to truly tell us, do they want to fund a specific project? And if a tax measure passes, then we would obviously move forward with that project. At the moment, we do not have a funding pathway in place. Any path forward on this $8.5 million pool grant is fiscally, in my opinion, irresponsible because of this fact. This project with no revenue stream has high probability to create financial insolvency and require mandated underfunding of current general fund departments. A bankruptcy risk looms if no funding is available for this project. Proposed mitigated risk within the possible motion is available. So there is hypothetical mitigated risk if you choose to move forward. So this is just not the end of days here, but I do want to go back to some of this verbiage that there is a high probability to create financial insolvency based on the decision that you make tonight in roughly 26, 27. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, can you go back one, Juliana? So unfortunately, we have no tax measure in place. I think that ultimately, retroactively, it had been discussed that maybe we would accept the grant, start the project, and go out and seek a tax measure for funding. If that failed, we just need to understand the consequence of that failure in this decision tonight, because we would be looking at budget cuts. And I know that this is a very difficult topic. And I know that there may be people in the audience that paint me as a no first person, but this is my job, folks. It is to assess the risk, give you the information, and allow you to make a decision based on the risk tolerance that you have. It is not my risk tolerance. It is your decision here tonight. So when we look at budget cuts, we talk about equity. Equity is a hot word nowadays in government. We talk about equitable cuts to the general fund. It is of my opinion that I don't know a council in the state or the country or a supervisor's board in the country that would ever consider cutting a police budget. And so when we take the police budget out and we talk about the general fund budget, we're talking about a $4.5 million budget specifically for the general fund, removing YPD. So currently we have a budget deficit in this fiscal year of $900,000 that we just went over at the finance committee meeting yesterday. So we have added to the original booked deficit that was roughly $350,000 over the course of this year. And that budget deficit has escalated to $900,000. That is a substantial amount of money. Next fiscal year, because we book a 2-year budget, we budgeted a deficit of $500,000. So we talk about the Highway 3 possibilities and whether or not we may end up with any type of maintenance and liability on that project. I am just going to arbitrarily say we can kind of guesstimate $200,000 annually. If we add $500,000 in 26-27, you would be asking city staff to remove $1.2 million from the general fund. That is 26% of the $4.5 million available within the general fund annual budget. If the city moves forward with the new pool grant and no funding mechanism is in place, the city faces major cuts in 2026, which I understand are extremely hard to fathom, but the possibilities include abandonment of the community center and theater, abandoned maintenance of our current park system. In those items, I just going to be honest here, I'm speaking off the cuff, are not palatable. I can hear the groans behind me in the audience. Generally speaking, we don't want to cut things that we already have. So you are asking me, or whoever is the city manager at that point, to possibly lay off 10 employees with benefits to get to $1.2 million. Layoffs ultimately mean a lowered capacity for projects and less funding for the current services that we already provide. Next slide, please. So there are a number of other concerns that just need to be brought to your attention because you should have all the information and assess the risk on how you make your decision tonight. We're going to talk about California Environmental Quality Act, otherwise known as CEQA. We're going to talk about future financial risk, the scale of the current facility or the proposed project of the new pool. And we're also going to talk about the current parks budget. Next slide. So the California Environmental Quality Act, otherwise known as CEQA. This is a set of state regulations for the purpose of disclosing potential direct and or indirect impacts to the environment for a project. CEQA allows for categorical and statutory exemptions. In 2020, the city of Yreka filed a notice of exemption, an NOE, for the construction of the proposed pool project, but the city did not file an NOE for the purchase of the property. The 2020 construction CEQA NOE was improperly applied as it is not based on an approved categorical exemption with CEQA. Rather, the exemption filed for construction is based on the premise that city officials can decide if a project is exempt without claiming a specific statutory or categorical exemption. And I'm going to complete my slideshow here tonight. If there's questions concerning CEQA, we do have Juliana in the house tonight, the planning director, and she can come in up here and kind of walk through that, that process for you guys. Next slide, please. So what's the pathway here if you guys decide to move forward tonight? Well, first and foremost, we would get a 30% engineered plan set, a final site plan and landscaping plan that includes the irrigation system and anticipated water usage. We would complete an initial study resulting in a negative declaration or mitigated negative declaration in a mitigation monitoring and implementation program. The initial study will roughly cost $40,000. This is not supplied by the grant, so this will come out of the general fund. And at this time, based off of information from the planning director, we're at an 8-month minimum timetable, but that's appropriate with the state. They just want to see action. So if we are working towards something, it is appropriate if we just keep them aware. So the 8-month timetable is just to let you guys know that that's how long it would take us to get through this process at a minimum, but I do not fear for the grant security if we are in that process. So the mitigation, monitoring, and implementation program will need funding set aside to investigate or rectify any findings on the site. And this is general fund. This is not included in the grant. Next slide, please. So just some general concerns that I currently have, and I know that staff shares, and I want to make you guys aware. And as I said before, you assess the risk, you make the decisions, we take the plan into action. But we have bargaining with the union coming up, and the cost of living has obviously increased drastically. The cost of gasoline has increased drastically, and the labor market seems extremely tight at the moment. I personally feel that we have a need for increased paid fire staff. I think that fire and water are the biggest issues of any city in the state of California and need to be taken extremely seriously. And it is my opinion that a 0.5% sales tax for paid fire staff or the general fund to give us the ability to pay or add paid fire staff is an extremely important measure that we keep in our back pocket as we investigate a new fire hall. We have road crew staff and increased cost of Highway 3. So hypothetically, we would be looking at cuts to the road crew staff as we take on more maintenance within our roads program. We have administrative staff that may get cut through this process, and obviously our ability or capacity to manage grants would be definitely strained. We have long-term financial risk because there is no current funding stream. We have increased probability of financial insolvency. Maintenance of the current park system is at risk because of the added financial stress within the parks budget. Next slide. So another concern that comes up is the scale of the facility. This is not Ringy Pool. This is not your local park pool. This is an aquatic center rather than just one single pool. This is 7.8 acres of park to maintain. This is a retractable roof system over the pools. There is currently no air handling accounted for in the grant. The retractable roof, in my opinion, would be void and have to be open at all times because there is no air handling. We would have to more than likely add the cost into the engineered plans to get air handling to have the ability to close the retractable roof system. The design is Olympic style training rather than a focus on teaching kids to swim. There is no splash pad, which means there is no true kid focus for this aquatic center. The possible difficulty in staffing a facility of this size is certainly going to be difficult in order to keep the public safe while they're either in the building or in one of the two pools. Next slide, thank you. So just to see what we've spent in the past here, 16, 17 through 2021, we're somewhere around $400,000 a year. So there's really no way that we can cut the parks budget and then add the money specifically to the pool because we would have no money to actually continue service at the current park system. Next slide. There are some concerns just as my short time here, as I look around and I see some infrastructure that needs our attention, especially within the parks budget. And I've had members of the council on tour at Greenhorn, and we have some historic buildings that obviously need attention before they degrade to be just unusable. The stamp mill comes to mind. We had a volunteer group fix the Greenhorn gazebo instead of city staff. We have tennis courts at the Minor Street Park that need repair. When I moved to town, I played a lot of tennis and I played it at the high school. I have also seen within the last 2 days a skate park GoFundMe in April of 2022 with somebody claiming that they would like to see improvements at our skate park. We would have limited staff based on budget restrictions. We really have 1.25 staff members that handle our parks. And I went out with one of them, Mr. Luke, about 2 Fridays ago. He is a part-time employee, 20 hours a week, and it is a race to get all of the garbages along the Greenway. I didn't know we had so many garbage cans downtown. And then ultimately, I don't want to get into too much detail, but some of the stuff I picked up at Minor Street Park was unsavory to say the least. I feel that we need upgraded playground equipment specifically at Ringy and Knapp Park. If anyone has driven by there, they have noticed that the tunnel is completely closed off for kids access. When we do an encampment cleanup, this comes from the parks budget as well. We currently, Ben and myself are working with a great volunteer group. Joan Favreau may be in the house tonight, to restore the Minor Street Park arch restoration. We lose the ability to have funding to support these great kind of public committees that go out and attempt to kind of maintain the historical artifacts within our park system. We have a community theater that is getting an HVAC and roof grant for the fixes that are really, I think, from this council's perspective, long overdue. And we have the general cleanup of the Greenway and Greenhorn Trails encampments. All of these are within the parks budget. Next slide, please. So what is the argument for the Yreka Swim Center that I think you may hear tonight? I'm going to be completely honest with you. There is a lot of nostalgia, and that is completely appropriate. And I completely understand that. I had a childhood myself, and so I understand wanting to supply my same childhood to my 7-year-old son. But when I talk about the brass tacks here of the financial cuts, I think it is very pertinent that this council be pragmatic and think about what the financial risk is, rather than relive the history of their own understanding of what it was like 30 years ago at Ringy Park. That's just my opinion. We're going to hear that the kids need something to do because the claim is they currently do not have something to do. I'm not going to argue with that. The pool on Foothill would spurn economic development may also be a claim that we hear tonight. But as far as I know, we have an economic development council, and I don't have a report from Tanya Douse on how this pool spurs economic development. I have also heard that the pool is more important than paid fire staff. I obviously adamantly disagree with that statement. And that you can't do anything good without risk, which that is not my decision. That is this council's decision tonight. And I think that we'll also hear that that the public may want a 0.5% sales tax to increase revenue, and combining fire and pool into one item. I don't think that's fair to the volunteer fire staff that ultimately is allowed to go out and knock on doors. City staff is not allowed to get involved in any election item, but I think we need to separate those two items, in my opinion. So you may hear that argument tonight. Next slide. So here's the argument pretty much against the Yreka Swim Center. As I said before, and I'll say again, there is no funding stream. So the tax measure was tabled in April of 2020. With no tax measure, we do not know if the community wants to fund a pool because they have not had the opportunity to vote on taxing themselves. We know that there's CEQA concerns. We know that there's air handling concerns. We know that the maintenance costs are probably higher than anticipated. We know that we have a hypothetical new fire department project and that we limit our capacity and focus by taking on this project. Funding a new fire staff with a 0.5% tax measure on a future ballot is more important, in my opinion. Increased fire danger and drought in the state of California should be the focus of the city of Yreka. Ringy ultimately will still need to be abated if we build another park and a pool. And the risk of financial ruin for the city budget come 2026. It gets better, folks. Next slide, please. So what is the path to a pool? I understand the desire and want for a pool. The staff also wants a pool. Believe me, we do. And so we are prepared to provide a better solution. Prepare a property tax package and bring to council. If the tax passes, design a ringy pool replacement with an operating and maintenance annual cost that is funded with part of the tax revenue. Keep pool design functional and realistic for a population of 7,800 that meets the needs of the kids who will use the pool and matches the revenue stream to maintain. If tax passes, the city can, in my opinion, borrow against a portion of that revenue to break ground on a new pool in pool house at Ringy Park. If tax fails, then the public has voted that they do not want to fund a pool. Next slide. So we have some possible motions here tonight. And this first motion, I'm not going to read completely. This is your motion to move forward with the grant and build the aquatic center on Foothill Drive. We have safeguarded this motion to limit risk because of financial concern that we would, if you approve this motion tonight, you would also be approving if a tax measure failed in November, that we would halt that pool, give the excess money back to the state, and then pay out of the general fund what we spent from the grant. This, I believe, puts us in the most risk-averse position to move forward with the Foothill pool. Next slide. So I put the staff recommendation in black, and that is option B, would be to make a motion to prepare a letter to the California Parks and Recreation Department, returning the grant award and direction to staff and volunteers to seek dedicated funding for Ringy Pool Development Project in the future. And then obviously, no one is advocating for this, but the other option tonight would be to prepare a letter to the California Parks and Recreation Department, returning the grant award. Next slide. So in conclusion, and I'm going to take this opportunity to be a member of the public. I live in the city of Yreka. My wife was born in the city of Yreka, and her family still lives primarily within the surrounding area of Yreka. I am a parent of a 7-year-old citizen of the city of Yreka. I have spent 2 years at the Montague City Pool for my son to get swim lessons because it is important to me, and it has been completely functional. And if there is no pool in the city of Yreka, I will continue to utilize the Montague pool. Making the pool an emotional decision rather than a financial decision brings a large level of risk to the city of Yreka budget. Staff is not against the pool, not at all. Everyone on the staff supports a pool if we have the funding mechanism. That's pretty much all I have for you guys tonight. I know that after public comment, I have a few emails for and against the pool that I would like to read on behalf of the public if they're not here tonight. And ultimately, I would also like the opportunity for the assistant city manager to address the council, who is also the treasurer for the city, after public comment is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for doing your job, Jason. I know it's sometimes a tough thing to do, but you have to be realistic and let everybody know what your job is, and your job is to bring everything to our attention as a council, every awareness of finances and the fiscal responsibility of that. So that's has to be done no matter what we decide. It still needs to be brought forward, and everybody needs to know that. So anyways, at this point in time, I would like to bring up Robin Richards. It's okay if Robin.
Okay, well, I've got some prepared remarks, but before I do those, I just want to address what Jason just said, and just wanted to comment that nothing I heard tonight from the city manager is sufficient to stop this project. All of these items can be addressed successfully by a community that cares about what's going on and really is promoting what they want in terms of a pool. And all I can say is when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that's what I think our community is trying to do with this. So here are my prepared remarks. Mr. Mayor, council members, city manager, thank you for the opportunity to speak. There's an old adage saying that when a community is being evaluated, the question you should ask is, and how are the children? If the community focuses on providing great opportunities for our children and the children are doing well, the community is successful. For the city of Yreka, you'll have a hard time answering that question as the city really isn't doing much for our kids. Yet we have a city manager who's been here about 2 months, feel as though he knows the city's needs better than we do, and listens to the city staff telling him no, yet again, to what our community wants. Over the past 3.5 years, we put together large community meetings, done the work of planning and grant writing twice, and persevered to get the $8.5 million for the pool. He is suggesting in tonight's agenda packet to return the grant and then remodel Ringy Pool with no money. It will most likely cost between $4 to $6 million to redo Ringy. This is exactly where we've been for the past 5 years. He suggested a parcel tax, and it's going to be probably over $100 per parcel. But he's also been told that the odds are long to get that approved. So he's recommending something that will set us up for failure. When I mentioned the recommendation to give the grant back to a good friend who is well known in this city, she broke into tears. We deserve better. Remember, you, the city council, have approved this project twice, once to submit the grant and the second time to accept it. The people cheered. So now the city is fortunate to have the opportunity to put our kids first. It's time to build the Yreka Swim Center and Native Park. What would that mean? It would mean that our kids would not have to say no to a trip to the water park because they can't swim. It would mean parents would feel okay when their kids want to go rafting in the river or boating in the lake because they can swim. It would mean parents would have a good answer for "I'm bored" during the summer, as their kids would have the opportunity to swim with their friends. It would mean the city, along with the college, the YMCA, and the schools, can offer collaborative, extensive recreational programming to create strong, resilient youth in our community. What about the location? I understand that some of you are not happy with the location. Please know that it is not an easy task to get millions of dollars to build a pool. The California Parks and Recreation Prop 68 funds offered a great opportunity. We did try to get Ringy Pool funded through this process in 2019, and we did not get the grant because of the location. These grants are very competitive. Only about 1 in 4 were funded in this last cycle, and we are competing with all of the state of California. For the Ringy Pool proposal, you should know we lost almost 30 points out of 100 because of the location, which puts us well out of the running for funding. The grants are really targeted to areas where there are no parks and the surrounding area has a low median income. That is where you get those 30 points. The new location met those criteria. There are no city parks east of I-5, and the median income is lower than most other areas of Yreka. And because it has more acreage, this new location gives us a much better opportunity to address the pool features that over 250 of the residents of this community said would be desirable. A key benefit is that it's only 2 blocks from the YMCA, which will be terrific for families. So how do we pay for it? That's the critical question this evening. We have an $8.5 million opportunity to develop the swim center, which will be a great attraction to our city. There is no match for the $8.5 million, and we don't have to borrow the money. We paid our taxes to the state of California, and it will be great to benefit and get some of this money back. We have the opportunity to make our city a more inviting place to live for families, as they will see we are a city that cares about our kids and for our seniors who have a great place for exercising. To do so means we understand that we need funding to maintain and operate the expanded services. All 3 of the recommended motions by the city staff in the agenda packet this evening are unacceptable. Let me first address the use of a parcel tax. We have done analysis over the last few years, and it would take, like I said, an increase of over $100 per parcel assessment. We've talked to many of our residents, and they felt $100 plus parcel tax is not a viable option. Our proposal is that we add a 0.5-cent general sales tax for the city. Then we will be able to raise $1 million per year to maintain and operate the pool, parks, and some other services. The cost to individuals will be about 5 cents for every $10 on taxable items. The best part of the sales tax proposal is that 67% or 2/3 of this additional sales tax revenue comes from people visiting our city. This percentage was provided by city staff. That means visitors to our area would be supporting our efforts, just like we support theirs when we shop in Reading, Sacramento, or the Bay Area and pay for taxable items. And I should remind you too, that the pool is not going to be opened until 2025, and this is 2022. So there is some time. It's not being opened tomorrow. So what is our recommendation? We would urge the council to take these actions with regard to the pool this evening. 1, provide the go-ahead to build the Yreka Swim Center and Native Park. And 2, place a 1/2 cent general sales tax on the November 2022 ballot. It is also recommended that you establish a pool and park project steering committee to assist the creation of this new pool and park. All votes take courage and foresight. We've been working on this project as a community for 3.5 years. Our kids deserve this. So let's be the voice for our kids and their futures, as this is probably a once in a lifetime opportunity. We need to be a city moving forward. Then I feel we will be able to answer the question, and how are the children? By saying the children are doing just fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. So-
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just once we get going, if you can just let me know what type of time frame you want me to keep on the
Correct.
future comments.
So at this point in time, I'm going to ask the public, how many members of the public would like to speak at this time? Because we got to figure out how much time frame we need to have for everybody. So
And for those who are on Zoom, can you raise your hand now so we can take a hand count?
all right, well then, yeah. So we'll hold it to 5 minutes for each individual. That's max. So, okay, I'm gonna open it up to the public, and members of the public are allowed to come up and speak. And I'd like for you guys to state your name and who you are, and whatnot, so.
Hello, I'm Buzzy McCluskey. I live on Northridge Drive, and you all know me. I'm a great pool supporter, and thank you, Jason, for bringing out those scary numbers to us. And it's a scary outlook, and I appreciate the decision that you guys have to make tonight is a tough one. And I mean, I waffle and wave. I am 100% pool supporter. I just wanted to address a couple things that Jason brought up about the pool structure itself. I designed it, so, and it helps with Amy back there in that, you talked about no splash pad. The 0 entry into the pool is basically a splash pad. That's the little curved area you saw there. That's for our little tiny kids to do swim lessons. We have one section in there for the more advanced swim lessons, and then we have another section, and then we have another section for those competitive lap swimmers. We have a lot of people here that would come to our noon lap swimming. Lap swimming is big in this town, whether it's in the morning, whether it's at lunchtime, whether it's in the afternoon, whether you're an adult or whether you're on swim team. So there had to be a lap thing. To say that were not designing the pool for kids was wrong. The whole design of the pool is so that we could have as many functions going at one time as possible. Coming from our combined 60 years of experience with the pool. I just want to say that that's what we designed the pool for, was to get as many things in there as possible to keep our swimming going in this area. Now that our swim teams are gone, there's only 2 swim teams left in the county. We used to have over 100 kids on our swim team. And yes, that's going to take some time to build back up. But I think that is a very important option to our physical activities for people to do, young and old, being a non-weight bearing activity. And I just think the health of our community needs to be thought of also in that. I just appreciate the decision that you guys have to make. I appreciate Robin for all that she has done for us. And this is an extremely hard decision. I hope that you guys have weighed everything that you hear, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot of positives and a lot of negatives tonight. And it's going to be a hard decision, but again, I just hope that you swing towards the pool side and appreciate all the work that we have put into this. Thank you.
Buzz, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How much, when you guys were still in operation, how much fundraising did you guys fork out? I mean, how much money did you raise? Last time?
About $10,000. We
$10,000.
did, when the swim team was going at its peak, they had to sell fireworks tickets, which I wouldn't recommend we do any more fireworks tickets, but they made, you know, 15 to 17,000 on fireworks tickets. We then took over the fireworks booth and did the wine sales and at the fairgrounds and made a roughly, you know, 7,000 to 10,000 for that.
Nice.
And then just general donations. I mean, we had, you know, people just drop by. I had somebody send us $1,000 check that doesn't even live here anymore because of the memories that they had at this pool and how important a pool was to them.
In your vision, do you feel that the public would be more receptive on more fundraising and helping out the swimming pool if this was to go through?
Oh, I'm certain. If we had a viable, you know, looking at Ringy Pool, it was like, oh gosh, we're just band-aiding this thing forever. So people aren't really supportive of, well, I don't really want to give you $1,000 or $10,000 if I know the pool's not going to be open next year. But if we had, you know, a brand new facility that didn't have any problems, and now we're going to put this money towards future maintenance, I'm sure that the community would be more than willing to help out with that.
Great. Thank you, Buzz.
You're welcome.
I'm Jan Osborne. I live at 1027 North Street. And I just want to say ditto to everything that Jason said. I, in particular, heard the words financially irresponsible, future insolvency, cuts in staff. As a resident of Yreka, haven't lived here as long as some of you, but it's 40 years this year that I've been here. Been paying my property taxes every year. And one of the proposals I've heard is to put $200 assessment for this pool. I'm opposed to that. I'm just very opposed for the city going out on a limb to provide free swimming to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I mean, that doesn't make sense. How many of you have ever gone to a city pool and not have to pay something? I urge the council to take option 3, and this is my personal thing. This thing was handled not as well as it could have been from the beginning. And when I first read the grant, I mean, it pops out. Maintenance, operations and maintenance costs. Look at that. Didn't make sense. You have to have a revenue stream, and there wasn't one. And I learned a long time ago, don't be emotional about spending money. Be pragmatic. And so I urge you to vote or make the motion to return the grant, and let's just go back to square one and try it again if people want a pool. But look at all the time we've spent. And I know I've communicated with each of you as soon as I read the grant. Didn't hear from you. Did get one call and chatted with Debbie, but no one else discussed this with me. And I know you had I'm not criticizing, just saying that it was pointed out, and I'm sure other people, I'm not the only one that read the grant, I hope. Did everybody here read the grant? And see what it actually says? It's been posted on the city website. So you know these things. But, and again, motion to return the grant award is what I would recommend. Definitely no motion to go ahead with the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Hi, I'm Holly Vaughn. I live just up the road from my neighbor on North Street. My opinion is a little bit different, though. I'm the parent of 4 kids. I'm here with my youngest, who's 12, and when my oldest was almost old enough to be on the Yreka swim team, that was pretty much the last year that the pool was able to function. We tried our best, but our options is to drive an hour pretty much at 5 in the morning, and that doesn't really work with the work schedule for my kids to be on the swim team. So that really hasn't been a reality for them. Montague Pool is too small for a swim team. They cannot host that. I'm not an expert on this, but I've, talked to the experts here like Buzzy, and yeah, it's not viable. So yeah, you can learn to swim so that you don't drown, but that's not really harnessing that passion to be a strong swimmer, in my opinion. So whatever it takes to make our city feel vibrant. Yeah, it's true. There's not a lot of things. There's things for our kids to do. The YMCA offers a lot, but it's limited in what it can do. It doesn't have a pool. I know it's a lot of work. It's been a roller coaster of hearing the dismal reality of there's no money, you may not have this kind of a thing, to we've worked really hard to find a grant funding source. Can we please make this possible? So I've been on the committee. I've come with my daughter, the last 3 years to say, please, I'd like to have a pool in my town. And so yes, I'm being somewhat emotional on that, but we've lived here for 15 years and it's a great town. We've loved raising our kids here, but it's just so hard when everything takes an hour to get to if you want something beyond going to school and the grocery store. That's about it. And so having something that's exciting and desirable in our town, and just that makes it feel more vibrant than a baseball park and a soccer park. A soccer field. That anyway, you know what I'm saying. I would just encourage you to find a way to make this possible. There's been a lot of research into the feasibility, and I hope it's not in vain, and that we can make something that makes, by the time my youngest is in high school, maybe she'll get to be on a swim team, and I would hope that might be a reality. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so tall. Hi, my name is Cindy Hammer. It's all right. I'm used to getting on my tiptoes. Oh, look at, whoa. How much did this cost? So my name is Cindy Hammer. This is my husband, Wayne. We live down on Kelsey across from Walmart, so we deal with a lot of the stuff that's being built around there. And you have gotten a copy of the letter that I've written, but I'm going to read aloud so these people can hear it also. Dear City Council members, we are writing this letter to show support for building a new Yreka Pool Park area on Foothill Drive. First of all, to be awarded a grant for $8.5 million is an incredible gift which should not be wasted. After receiving such a large sum of money, we believe that the citizens of Yreka will step up to the responsibility of the maintenance. This could be collected, I've heard, by a small tax, payment for pool usage, donations, and/or yearly fundraisers. Just imagine the event that we could host at this new park. Building a pool and park in this area will allow our city to expand, reducing downtown congestion and creating a beautiful, healthy place for all of our citizens to visit and enjoy. With the existing housing, the YMCA, and the county building more housing in this area, it is the perfect location. We are aware that some people are nervous about building a pool next to a location that is housing mentally challenged individuals. Our request is that you don't let fear guide your decision. The county will use screening to select individuals they deem ready for this transition, along with counseling services and support. We also have an incredible police department who can patrol regularly and be made aware of any issues. My husband and I, we live next door, right next door to a second chance home for convicts. Of course, when we heard this was happening, we were concerned. We were fearful. when this change was made, just like all of the citizens who are concerned about this project. But safety measures were put into place, and the residents know how important their actions are for success. They are grateful for a step up, and we have had no problems. It's actually pretty enjoyable to see these people, how joyful they are to have a step to get out. In conclusion, it is incredible right now to see all the progress that Yreka is making with new modern buildings, road improvements, and beautification projects. Let's keep this momentum up by creating an incredible swimming pool and a park area that kids, families, seniors, and visitors will all want to enjoy. Let's utilize this grant and make Yreka a place that everybody wants to visit, spending their time and their money here instead of us going elsewhere. Thank you for listening and the time you all invest to make Yreka a wonderful place to live. And I do know you have a really challenging decision, but you know what? I'm a supreme optimist, and I know that this can happen, and it won't happen unless we move forward. And this is a lot of money to let go.
Thank you, Cindy.
Take the chance to speak so we can clear the aisle there.
Get the microphone up for you now.
Steve Radford.
Other way. There you go.
They call me Radical Radford on the tennis court.
There you go.
The battery wore out. Whatever.
There you go. There you go.
I live right across the street from Yreka Elementary. And I get to sit in my chair, and through my window, I watch the moms and dads bring the kids to school every day, and it makes me so proud. I've only lived here 12 years, but I love this place. I love Siskiyou County. I'm not real happy with Yreka because the way it's ran, or because of the support that the members of the city give this city. You know, Celia and I worked hard back in 2010, 11, 12, 13, trying to do something downtown to make it active with the art walks. And Celia was a big part of doing that. I was the gopher helping her out. I volunteered my services a few times on different projects in the city to try to help beautify it and make it look like we really care. But I don't see a lot of support from the city, the members of the city, for this city. And so there's a lot of talk about we will step up and support the pool. You know, the pool sounds just incredible. It is. It really is such a magnificent thing that we could have this thing in this county. But it seems that we're not ready for it, to me. You know, we're just not responsible enough for that size of a project. And you know, I don't believe in grants. I believe grants are part of the socialist problem that we're having with all this other stuff that's going on in our state. The fire danger that we have here is tremendous. We cannot risk funding or increasing the funding for that. I invite anybody to go up Greenhorn Park, and where all of the mailboxes are on the left-hand side as you're going up. You'll see a line of mailboxes. Drive up that dirt road there. It'll scare the bejeebus out of you. It's just dry as a bone. Last summer, I thought, if some maniac, and there was maniacs running around the state last year, throws a match out there or a cigarette, it's over. It's coming down through Greenhorn Park, and where is it going to stop? It's going to be a fireball like all the rest of these are. Please drive up there and check it out, because it's crazy dry up there. And you know, if we have a fire here, I mean, we're dealing with smoke every summer already. So there's no doubt that I'm very, very much in love with this city, and I love this city. And the more I drive around the county and the country, you know, it just makes me so proud to be here. And I'll support whatever we have to do what the community wants. I'm a contractor, I'm a general contractor. I've talked to other contractors, some significant contractors who are much obliged to help in this rebuilding of Rainy Park up there, because that's where it belongs. That's the high school's right there. We can have the high school swim team. You know, if we're going to fund this thing, where was the funding with the pool that we had? It wasn't there. Why? You know, I mean, these are simple questions. What have we done in the past to prove that we can do something in the future? That's what we try to do in our own homes. Can we afford this? I guess we can't. We shouldn't have it this yet. You know, that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Lorenzo Love, I live on 4th Street. I did read the grant, and I can see what a fantasy this budget, this proposed budget is. And you all know that. You know everything has been deliberately lowballed to make it look better. It's, by the time this pool is built, it's going to be over $1 million. You know that. And it's going to increase every year. If we have this aquatic park, we have to have it for 30 years. So you're going to have ever increasing maintenance budgets for 30 years. And if you pass a $200 parcel tax, that's not going to be enough. You're going to have to increase that. Every couple of years, you're going to come back with your hat in your hand, begging for more money. The citizens of Yreka can't afford that. We can't afford a shop in Medford sales tax either. What's that going to do to all the retailers here? It's just another incentive to get out of town and shop somewhere else. And all these arguments also apply to a new ringy pool. We can't afford that either. The only responsible option is option C, reject the grant, period.
Thank you.
I'm on this side because I'm very broken, sorry. I found that on page 104 of the agenda packet, it states that 5, park maintenance, unless the board deems otherwise, the board of directors of Park and Recreation will be responsible. Get it. Lorenzo. Sorry, will be responsible for maintaining only the pool and the park. Joan Smith Freeman is quoted being said that 300 to 500,000 that you hear about would not necessarily be new funding because we have already got 400,000 in just recreation and parks funding. So then I'm hoping that we won't need much more. Taking parks and recreation money for the pool is wrong, and in my eyes, it's criminal. Thus, if you take the money from the parks and recreation and hide it in a tax bill and not explain to the voters what they're exactly voting on is also criminal in my eyes. If all of the money from parks and recreation go to this new pool and Greenhorn gets neglected and the dam breaks or the little levee breaks, how is PG&E going to feel about all that water going down there to their power plant and all of the storage units getting flooded? So I'm asking again, please do not hide this in a fire station and pool tax or a parks and recreation tax. Explain to the taxpayers that it's going to be $200 to $300 per parcel for taxes. And that's also going to raise the rent of all the people around here. And the retractable cover for the pool is not going to work because you're putting a native park, which means native weeds, which are wind-driven weeds into the tracks. Not to mention anything else that can get into a track and stop it. And 2 pools will take 422,000 gallons of water to fill it once and to supply the park. And this could be used to put out 21.1 homes that are on fire, if they were to be on fire, saying that there are going to be 20,000 gallons of water for each fire. That's a really large fire. It'll be less if it's a smaller fire. And you can't just use the pool because you've got traveling time, and then you would have to just refill the pool with water. The native park is also a high fire danger area. People smoke at parks, they just do. 1 cigarette and the whole thing's gonna go poof. We are in an extreme high fire danger. I am not against a pool. I think Ringy Park's where it needs to go. There's plenty of people who are willing to support it. And the reason it didn't go before was because, again, hidden. I can't water my lawn because we're in, a high fire danger, but you're gonna put 422,000 gallons of water in 2 pools. There are other public areas that the city owns instead of buying property from the Siskiyou County. And I looked at the grant. The grant did not mention one time the fact that Montague has a pool, and we've been sending our children there for quite a few years, and it's been working. Montague is our sister city, and helping Montague with their pool also helps our sister city. We are the county seat. We should be helping our sister cities. Medford also has a public pool, and the grant said it did not. It does. It's called Jackson Aquatic Center and Park. And yeah, it's 53 miles away. 90% of us go up there to go shopping, and our children can be in the pool while we are shopping. And then we were talking about having our children walk clear out there under an overpass and around unsafe areas just to get to this new pool. And who is buying into this new pool? And yeah, it's gonna go over 5 minutes.
It's at the discretion of.
It's at the discretion of the mayor.
How much more do you have, Dawn Marie? We need to,
A half page.
okay, make it quick then. Please,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, and who's buying into this pool membership? $50 a class, it's a free pool. $200 a season, it's a free pool. This is Yreka. Most people in this city are poor. You've laid it out nicely on page 122. Poverty, the city of Yreka, 22% poverty rate. People in this city are poor again. And, we need to save money for other things that are more important. Most people around here have learned to swim in the creeks and the pool anyways. I mean, the creeks and the rivers. This is the country. And the city can't even afford to remove the old pool buildings and do anything with the old ringy pool. And then on just one quick thing, page 108 says that you're going to use propane, and 154 shows a whole line of heating for solar. It doesn't say anything about the cost of the solar, which is it? And then insurance doesn't talk about one lick of insurance for this new pools and this new park. So, again, you got to go back to the fact that that grant stated for 30 years, we have to maintain this park, this new pools, 30 years. If we don't, we have to pay back that grant of $8 million, $8.5 million. If that's 29 years and 332 days, we have to pay that back. And I don't know about you guys, but you owe the state of California. They want their money yesterday, not in 6 months like they choose to give it to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dawn Marie.
Oh my goodness, you have no idea how scared I am. Hi, my name is Evelyn Holden. I am 12 years old, and I'm probably going to repeat a lot of things because I have no idea. I I don't have that much of experience, if any, on politics, but I'm still say that my say matters. So I grew up in Reed with the Reed pool, but ever since I really moved to Montague, I know I'm a Yreka citizen. I don't really get to do swim team anymore at all. Well, that was a lie. I'm so nervous right now.
You're doing great. You're doing awesome. Keep going. You're doing great.
Yes, we can go to Reed, but the jobs and everything, I don't really have the choice to go to swim team anymore. I go to a small school. I don't go to Jackson Street, and I know that most of the kids would love to go to. I'm just saying, like, if you were to accept the grant to build a school. Oh God. They would love a place to hang out and swim together. When I heard about this project, I was overjoyed. I would love to have a place to swim with my friends and hang out. I understand the money is tight, and if this pool is built, I think that more people will come in the town to check it out. More people, more money, and I know. Okay, now I don't really know what to say, but I really like the idea of a pool, just like this area where we could all swim, and I could learn how to swim better, and we could do swim team, even though I'm in middle school. It just sounds like a really great idea, and I don't know what to say.
Thank you. I just want to thank you. That takes a lot of courage to step up there, and thank you for having that courage to do that.
My name is Corey Hayden. I'm also scared. I'm also not a Yreka citizen, so I'm with you. So my name is Corey Hayden, and I wanted to encourage the council to entertain possibility A that was presented by city leadership, in that it does give an opportunity for the intended tax measure that was promised in 2020 that was halted by COVID a chance to proceed. I do want to credit both the city council and Yreka Splash, who led this comprehensive and elaborate endeavor to apply for a competitive grant. $8 million is significant. I do not believe that kind of capital will be possible with a Ringy rehabilitation project. The $8 million does offer incredible momentum for a professional, well-done new facility in Yreka. I personally see the courthouse as a new facility and a bright light in the city. We have lots of old struggling facilities, and to see something new and well built would be a great asset. This opportunity provides us to have an investment in social economy, social impact, the idea to have a healthier community base. If this facility can host any competitive opportunities that can bring visitors and overnight stays and tourism to our region. I am here as not an economic development employee today. I want you to know I'm just speaking on my own behalf. If we could run an economic development report on a pool, maybe we could send an email. We could get that done. I don't know. So I wanted to mention that because that was in Jason's presentation as well. And I did see immense community support through this process. To apply for this grant, several workshops had to take place with immense community input. Those were held at the city center, where Red Scarf has their events. So I do believe there's immense thought behind this proposal. It's hard for me, my brain, to know everything, but I think Jason mentioned an 8-month period where we probably could demonstrate progress in the planning phases. I think he said something about a $40,000 investment from the city of Yreka in planning area. If that's a way we can move forward safely in 8 months and demonstrate progress, and also roll out the tax language on the November ballot, maybe that's a really safe way to postpone telling the state that we want to give the money back. There may be, as long as we're demonstrating progress, maybe there's time to put forth infrastructure for the maintenance of this project. Again, I just want to emphasize what a significant amount of money $8 million is that probably will not come our way again. And that's important for us to try to leverage in a safe way for the city. And maybe time until November could help us forge that plan fairly as was promised in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. I know. That's
Evening, council and Mr. Ledbetter, city manager. My name is Jerry Stalker, Yreka city resident, and I own a store in town also. I'd like to just kind of go back for a second, and Mr. Ledbetter gave a very compelling argument about the financial hurdles that everybody's going to see going forward. This lady back here gave a very compelling argument to ignore all that and put the kids first and figure out how to get this done. I'd be a fool based on all the information that we've heard tonight if any of us could tell you folks how to decide what to do next. I do know that in the past couple of years, the kids in this country have taken a beating. And I also know that, not to get too deep into this, but if you look at the problems that we have in our society and the kids that are struggling, is family values. It's where it all starts. I don't know how to make this work, but I hate to see no disrespect. I hate to see us put a comparison or a priority between a fire department and the kids for the future of this town. The fire department can't live without them. You could wipe out every weed, dry grass in the city limits of Yreka, but if you don't go beyond Yreka, we still have the same problem. The children, I would like to know a statistic that says how many kids that graduate from this area come back and have a successful career and raise a successful family in Siskiyou County. Your guys' responsibility is to figure out how the next generation is successful, more successful than us. I spent my entire life every summer at a swimming pool. My children spent every summer their entire life at a swimming pool. I recognize a lot of folks here from life at a swimming pool. There's no place that you're going to find where families can get together, socialize, raise their kids together than a city pool. That's a fact. I can't think of anything. When, I hate to get political, but when the kids of this nation were under attack, in my opinion, it was the mothers that came to their defense. So maybe we need to call on the mothers of Yreka and Siskiyou County to figure out how to make this work and to figure out how to push the folks like you toward that decision that's going to be right for the youth of the future.
Thank you, Jerry.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Gross, and I live just up the street on Jackson Street. My family moved here 23 years ago, and we got really involved. I have 3 kids who are now adults. We got very involved in lots of sports, but the sport that drove our family was swim team. My kids were on swim team for 12 years. All 3 of my kids were lifeguards at Ringy Pool. My son Jacob finally made it to assistant manager for like 2 hours because the pool closed in 2017. Swim team, it makes me really sad to hear somebody who wants to be part of a swim team and it's not available to kids in Yreka or Montague. The Montague pool is not big enough. We had to use the Montague pool one year because our pool was not available to us to start our swim team season. Kids did the best that they could. When we had swim team, we would have up to 100 kids. We sold fireworks to fundraise. Debbie's Paint Store was a lane sponsor during our swim meets. The swim meets that we held every year brought in not only money for our team, but for the community. We were allowed to have camping in the park, but people stayed in hotels. They ate at our restaurants. They gassed up their cars. So there are a lot of ways to start some kind of revenue if we're able to get a swim team going again. It makes me sad. City manager goes to Montague for swim lessons. That's sad that we don't have it here in Yreka. My oldest daughter is almost 30. And she has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And it makes me really sad to think that, you know, they may not have the opportunity to be on the swim team and have those opportunities that my kids did. We made, so, like Mr. Stalker said, we made so many friends through the swim team when we would go to all the different North State swim meets. My kids are still friends with some of those kids. They would, you know, now they're having kids of their own. It's so important for our kids to learn how to swim with the amount of water that we have in this area. And I know it's really going to be a hard decision, but the kids in this community just do not have very many opportunities. My youngest, Jacob, is 23 years old. He joined the Navy 4.5 years ago, and he's an air rescue swimmer. And that is because of the skills that he learned at Ringy Pool, being part of the swim team and being a lifeguard.
They always wanted swim team.
I know, Yreka, we were pretty competitive. We had a great coach, Amy Singleton, even though she's Evans now. But I really hope that you will vote to move forward with this project, because I think it's really, really important for this community to have something positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here I am. My name is Krista Fries, and Krista Gilman now. I've got some poll. No, just kidding. Right? I took off my name tag even, so I'm not trying to do anything special here. I just wanted to, I'm hearing so many great points, and they're not anything that I haven't heard and thought of yet. But I think there's a big component that we're not really talking about. And it's like when I was 12, like you, or I guess like I started at 5, I have a picture with Amy Singleton and Whitney Shack, is great, taking swim lessons. And in that moment, I knew that I wanted to be a swim instructor. And I did swim lessons until I could do swim team, hated it. So I'm glad that you guys want your kids to do swim team. I had a real hard time. It was hard. It was very challenging. But then when I was doing swim team, I knew that I wanted to be a lifeguard. And then when I was 15, I was drafting my first resume, and I was applying, and I was sitting in a job interview with Buzzy. And I just think that you guys say you want to help the kids, and we all do, and we want to teach them to swim, and we want to make sure they can go to the rivers and go to the parks and do all the things. But the foundation also does start here. These are a lot of kids' first jobs. These are where kids learn CPR, first aid. They're learning how to take somebody out of a pool on a backboard to save someone's life. Like, I am driving to Medford with my poor mom, and I see a car crash on the side of the road, pull over my little Subaru that I just leased, jump out and go perform first aid on somebody on the side of the road. And my mom is still sitting in the car like, what do I do? So it's moments like that where we are training the foundation of, we want better for our kids, and we want people that are going to impact Yreka. And then I come back when I'm teaching some lessons, and I'm thinking, wow, I could do this. I could teach. And then I come back and I want to raise my family here. Like, that is the foundation that we want for Yreka. It's an investment bigger than $8.5 million. This is a big deal. And our community needs this so that they understand the importance of what this could be as well. I'm excited to raise my kids here, but I'll drive them to Etna for a good swim team. You know, we say we did swim team in Montague. There was a rat in that pool. It was green, and there was a rat in the bottom of the pool. Like, oh. So I'm here for it. I love it. I'm thankful. But like Jennifer's talking about her son, I watched Jacob swim laps underwater for hours practicing to hold his breath for the Navy. And there were kids in the pool watching him practice that, asking him questions that he is going to impact, that kids are going to go home and tell their parents about. It's not something where you just drop your kid off and leave. This is a big deal. And the impact that we can have
is much bigger and wider than $8.5 million. It's bigger than that. And I appreciate that we want to teach our kids how to swim. I love all of the things that you're making. And I love making Yreka pretty. But man, this is the future of Yreka too. And I just hope that I know we're weighing all the options, but I hope that that is something that really weighs heavy on your heart, because I know that it weighs heavy on a lot of ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
My name is Jennifer Silvera. And when I moved here in 1996, one of the first things my husband started to work on was getting an improved pool. That's what it was at that time. And then he was very involved in Splash. And I supported the pool as well, and still support the pool. I do not support option 3, but I myself have worked for really since I arrived, volunteering in parks and other projects on the Greenway. I'm not here representing the Siskiyou Gardens Parks and Greenway. I'm just speaking as a private citizen tonight. But a little over a decade ago, I helped some very visionary people write a proposal for over $5 million to do the flood hazard reduction work on the creek. And we found out how much effort and staff time and money it takes to try to move a project like that forward. We didn't understand that when we wrote that proposal. And over the years, things change, and there wasn't the support and the money to keep pushing that project forward. And we're looking at returning a significant portion of that money back, I believe. And it's been a painful process, and I do not blame the city in any way. I've learned how much it costs to maintain park facilities. It's much more than you think. And they're constantly, things breaking, graffiti, vandalism. And so I didn't understand how much it cost. So I really appreciate Jason's presentation. I don't disagree that maybe there were some little things Buzzy pointed out about it, but I just, if we can't get the tax money, we can't do this. And so we just need to proceed carefully, because if you think it would be really hard to turn that $8+ million back now, it would be harder if you get further down the road and then have to turn it back. So thank you for your hard decision you have to make tonight.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. All righty. Do we have anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if there's no more comment from the public, I think we would like to hear from the Assistant City Manager. Oh,
Okay.
thank you, Juliana.
Thank you for not forgetting about me. I'm sorry that I'm not there in person. I'm glad many of you can be. My name is Yreka Terrence. I'm a longtime Siskiyou County resident, born and raised in very rural Siskiyou County. I'm now a Yreka resident. This strikes me as a pool half full versus half empty, and it is a difficult choice. I just want to address a few things I heard and then give a few remarks that were prepared. First, I've heard a lot of comments about the pool being for kids, and it absolutely is beneficial to kids, no question, but also for us adults, for elders, from like age 1 to 100, a pool is one of the best things you can do for people. At least that's what I have experienced, and that's what I believe. So I think, again, a pool is for every age of person. I also heard the comment in the presentation that we need to base our decisions on financial information, not emotions. And I hear fear there, and I just want to remind us that that's an emotion. Fear is an emotion. So returning the grant is an emotional decision. And to me, it seems like a fiscally irresponsible decision. So I think there's a lot in the framing there, but that's just to turn that on its head. That's how I see it. So I've been fortunate, although I've lived in Siskiyou County much of my life and I now live in Yreka, I've been fortunate to travel to a lot of different parts of the state and the world even. And I've been to a lot of different swimming pools in my travels. Swimming has definitely changed my life. And I want everyone to have easy access to a pool like I have. I first learned to swim in a pool and then graduated to the local creeks and rivers like the Salmon River. But I still love to swim in pools that's predictable and safe. So I understand the concerns here, but even with the concerns on the table, I think this town really needs a pool and we're so close to having one. So with that in mind, I'm urging you to vote to move forward with this grant and at least keep your options on the table and try to show the state Parks and Recreation some action within the 8-month time frame. Pools help develop self-sufficiency, teamwork, competition, and confidence. They provide the lowest impact form of exercise for people of all ages and promote health and well-being for our families and communities. Swimming in a pool is a kind of meditation for me, at least. Each stroke keeps your body busy while your mind can wander. Physical therapy in a pool is key for people with injuries or disability. After I broke my foot, I was the first able to bear some weight on it again. 2 months later in a swimming pool in Ashland, there wasn't one in Yreka at the time. That cost me $20 a swim, but it was worth it to get back on my feet again. There has to be some way to overcome this obstacle together so that no budget cut needs to be made or staff laid off, but the aquatic center can be built, maintained, staffed, and operated. So I'm new to this discussion and I don't know what the right funding mechanism is, but I would urge you to help us find one and not turn the money back. So whether it's a tax, a levy, volunteerism, building new partnerships, cover charges. A lot of the pools I've been to do charge something at the door. Hopefully not $20, but something. Grants, changes to pool design. Let's get creative to build and run a local pool. I want to help. And the last thing I have to say is nada más, which to translate means nothing more and also swim more in Spanish. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, you said Ellie? Kelly, okay, Kelly.
Yeah, okay, hi. Thanks, you guys. I'm at home also. I live down the Shasta River Road. I have a Yreka address, but I'm considered county. But I work in the city, raised my 2 kids in the pool, like you've heard others talk about. So I concur with what Jennifer Gross and Corey Hayden were talking about in terms of, what the pool brings to our community, especially as a financial benefit. It was mentioned that there was no data that this facility would bring money in, but I think that's actually a no-brainer that it does. Not only would the pool bring people here for events like a triathlon could be set up, swim meets with hundreds of swimmers and their families. Again, it was already said they stay in our hotels, they eat here, they shop here. And that I would like to add though, that a couple of people mentioned who were against this pool project that, people go shop in Oregon. I think that's a real problem for us. It always has been. And I believe that the pool would keep more money here because instead of driving to Ashland or Medford or Reading to recreate, especially to swim in a larger facility, then when we do that, we eat there, we shop there instead of here. And we want to bring people here to do that. Like Gilman said, it provides jobs. It's really important that we prime the pump here and invest in our community. I really think that this pool could make Yreka a destination location instead of a place that people would rather leave, whether it's temporarily for a day trip or permanently. I know many retirees who've left. They've taken their money and they've moved elsewhere where towns are more vibrant and for themselves, for their children, for their grandchildren. And I have to admit, it's a strong consideration for myself, being near retirement. You know, what's holding me here? A pool would do that for me. And I also agree, as Corey Hayden said, that I think the city could demonstrate progress to the state, and that would give us time to obtain the funding we need. I agree with the sales tax idea in that the residents only shoulder, about a third of the tax burden. I think it's a very small price to pay. We can also apply for more grants to upgrade all over the town. We have numerous nonprofits here. There's USI who gives away, I don't even know, countless hundreds of thousands of dollars each year to our students for their college costs. We have Minor Power, who does a lot for athletics and activities at the high school. We have Hibbard, the organization that runs Hibbard Field. We have Little League. We have the Red Scarf Society, and not to mention Splash, these people have been active for decades trying to improve our city. And I think it's time for the city to go back to putting parks and recs first, step up and make that a priority. And I just wonder if the council believes that people would vote in the future for paying for a project, say like renovating Ringy Pool, where we don't have $6.5 million to do it yet. But you think they might approve a revenue stream in the future. Well, why wouldn't they pay for this one now? I don't think we have time. We don't have time to wait 3 years to apply for more funding, to do more work, then wait 3 to 5 years to build something. You're looking at, I don't know how many years before we would see a facility like this. We have the money now. We can get the money from our community, and I believe they would support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Is there any other ones online, Juliana?
I have a couple emails
Okay.
that I think I promised the folks I would read for them.
Yes,
So this
absolutely.
is from David and Betsy Shutteroff. So email to Yreka City Council members 3/31/2022. Hello, as residents of almost 50 years in Yreka, we care greatly about our community. We retired from 30-year careers, all spent right here in Yreka. David, a high school teacher, and Betsy, a hospital RN. We chose to stay in this community as it is a great place to be, and we raised our kids here. But like many, they have not returned here to live. Like many residents, we are concerned about the various declines and needs so apparent in this community. And quite significant is the lack of a community swimming pool. A pool and other recreational activities sponsored and supported by cities are major assets which attract, draw, and retain families, businesses, more medical and other vital services, and as well tourists, all of which bring income and vitality to a community. We absolutely and fully support the proposed pool project and the grant, the location, and the entire project. As a council member, of course, you recognize maintenance costs, etc., are a real concern and must be addressed. We think a sales tax as opposed to a parcel tax would be a much better way to cover these and other costs. Modest and properly planned, many cities utilize such as a fair and reasonable way to achieve needed improvements. This is a strong community which can accomplish this if we decided to support it and make it happen. We hope you will help in the effort to be bold and innovative, help us move forward and make a very important and positive action for our town and surrounding areas that make up our community. We have the incredible opportunity to make this project happen. Please give long and hard thought to not leaving this kind of grant sitting on the table. Let's get going and make it happen. Thank you, David and Betsy Shutteroff. And I have one more. This is from Gloria Smith, emailed on 4/4/2022. Dear Mr. Ledbetter, Recently, I have received emails from interested parties indicating that the community will be asked to support the maintenance of a new swimming pool. I just wanted to offer my opinion that I do not support such an agenda. Although I do agree that children and families need recreational options, I believe that the pool users and supporters should meet the expense through membership and use fees. I am dismayed that the community will be asked to shoulder this financial burden through an additional city tax or increased property taxes, especially during these difficult financial times. I have lived and worked in Yreka since 1974 and feel this is not the right time for this project. Thank you for your kind attention to my email. Once again, this is from Gloria Smith.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, do we want to bring up Retta then? Unless there's any other public comments at this point in time, we're gonna bring it back to staff and then back to the council.
I just would like to say, Mr. Mayor, that I have received numerous emails and phone calls. I think we all have.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it back to the council,
And
so
I don't think we can read all of them.
no,
We can tell you how many are for.
that's what we'll do. When we get up, we can talk about who and that stuff. So Retta?
Well, thank you. This has been a lot of hard work. I know I've been here 18 plus years. I've worked with all of you through those years. These are not easy issues to deal with. We have, as city staff over the years, tried to save Ringy Pool along the way on that. And I remember meetings with the Mark Greenfield, some school board members, the mayor, trying to get a recreational assessment district off the ground and save Ringy Pool and get boundaries of the high school district, because that's the service area of benefit. And it was a no-go, fortunately. And so Ringy Pool suffered yet again. I remember working on with City Council in 2014 on Measure I, quality of life, sales tax measure. This was an opportunity. Quality of life was addressing community facilities like Ringy Pool, things we loved, the community center, our gyms of our community. Unfortunately, the voters said no, overwhelming no. It was 67% no. That was a quarter-cent sales tax. We heard you. We tried again. We went back, we needed funds. We went with Measure C. That year, the state of California was rolling back its additional assessment of a 1/2 cent sales tax. And we felt that there was an opportunity to gain a 1/2 cent because it was a net neutral tax to the rate taxpayers at that time. And we also addressed the need, dire need of needing public safety. We had now decreased staff to 49 of us. I have worked in this organization every Thanksgiving for auditors to come in because we've had such staff reductions. But we were able in 2016, and we thank you so much for Measure C. We were able to hire a career fire chief for the first time in the city's life history. We were able to add an additional officer. We were able to hire an additional dispatcher. We were able to hire, on top of that, a public works maintenance supervisor to help with the streets and public works staff. It has been very successful. And having that extra staffing has also allowed us to be more competitive for grants and some of the funding opportunities for that. So we thank the public for that, certainly. We also have had some grants we've gone after where we've had, kind of the public-private partnership. And we did in 2000, a beautiful grant. It was called the Roberti grant. It was about $296,000 of grant funds, but the project scope was over $1 million. It was done with a volunteer group and at the time, and some interested people in the parks. And that project built a trail, restroom, 2 restrooms, a bridge over the spillway. We backfilled about 750,000. And everybody was in awe that the grant would actually, the actual cost would be over that. It was done without a maintenance budget. And so we kind of have now a bridge and maintenance and things like that that need some special attention with a very tight parks budget. We, and I'm glad Jennifer brought up the flood hazard reduction grant. Again, that was kind of partnerships. A great project, very hard to get off the ground and get that one implemented. The vision and the dream, which I think was brilliant, but again, no maintenance budget, but it was to improve the greenway for recreation. So, we could have, the dream was this beautiful greenway along the creek. There were concerns of maintenance, who's going to clean, the restrooms. And there was concerns at the time for who possible homeless moving into those areas. We still are now challenged with those problems of the homeless having moved into those areas and the budget to maintain that with no new revenue on that. So we did over the years develop grant procedures. These procedures, and they were approved by the city council, allowed us to vet the grants, and there are, the kind of the roles of the grant project manager, how grants are applied for, how they're vetted through finance, how they're vetted through public works, and the city manager. Unfortunately, this grant did not go through those normal procedures. I am not against the pool. I would love a pool. I just, as the city treasurer, one of the roles is to make sure the continued solvency of the city. And we are on very solid ground. It makes us available to seize great opportunities because we have such a strong financial position. I know other cities are not afforded that luxury right now. I think there are great recreation opportunities in this area. There's been tennis clubs wanting to, why hasn't the city improved its tennis courts? And, it is sad that they are neglected. A lot of people excel in their tennis sports, have careers, get college scholarships. It could be a golf club, but several communities have golf, high school sports and golf. And we don't have a city golf course. There's all those things of quality of life. But I think if you build it and that it will be voted in as a revenue, I'm concerned about that just with our history of people actually saying yes to putting their money down. So I applaud our city manager right now. He has grasped the concept of cities and its budget. And I have great respect for the information he's bringing to you tonight. Very insightful and on that. And, I appreciate, yes, we're a poor community. If we always think we're poor, we'll be poor. I think we should look, again, being a enriched community with our natural resources, the people that are here, but we are also need to be a pragmatic or smart community and seek the funding, say yes to us, say yes with the revenue stream, and then come forward, let us build it, let us fit the needs of the community and move forward. We are not against a pool. I think it'd be a beautiful resource for this area to have it. And with that, that's really kind of the comments I had, but if you have any questions, I could address them. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you, Retta. Thank you, Retta.
Thank you, Retta. Brought a tear to my eye to hear the level of respect you have for me, because I have a mutual level of respect for you. I just want to summarize, obviously, this is a very difficult decision. This is what you're tasked to do. I certainly have no problem making this decision on my own because I have the city's best interest at heart financially. I understand this is very tough for you guys, but I stand by my risk assessment and I stand by the fact that we did not follow the normal process. We supply the basic core services in the community as a city. A pool is an extra benefit that the community needs to prove they will pay for. We skipped a step in 2020, and that is why we're in the position to possibly move forward with no funding stream. And now I leave it to you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. So at this particular time, if council wishes, I would like to take a 5-minute recess. I think we could all probably use that. That's probably what you were giving me the note for, yes. So at this time, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. We'll come back and make a decision. All righty, let's get started now. Thanks y'all for sticking around and voicing your opinions and points, and made lots of good valid points. And I thank you, the public, for coming out. I say this all the time, I wish the public would come out more often about everything, not just about one topic or what's, passionate on their minds or whatnot, but everything, because we need the citizens to help make these decisions. That's why we ask people to come. So thank you. All right, now I'm going to open it up to the council. This is not obviously an easy topic. So I don't know who wants to go first. Is there any volunteers?
Would you guys like the motions up on the screen at all? Or
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you, Juliana.
I'm really tired.
Oh, we're not. We're not.
It's all good. We can start talking in any case. Yes.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to start off, I can. Mr. McCoy. if you
I'll go
take-
ahead and start, Mr. Mayor. And
Okay.
what I'm going to speak to here are, we've had a lot of great points tonight. We've had great points for building a pool. And we've had great point for building a pool, even without a funding source. I'm not saying we should build without a funding source, but we've had great points there. We've had great points on the other side. I just want to share a few of the things that as I go through and look at, I'm not pointing at anybody, but I'm looking at swim lessons. I think swim lessons are important. I know that when we looked to do swim lessons for my daughter, she actually did them at Jim and Marsha Griffin's pool. That's where they were, where the swim instructors were teaching. And then later she took, I think, from Krista Gilman, because Krista's still probably one of her, she said, Krista's fun, Dad. So I don't mean to make you feel old, Krista, but I think that the swim lessons are important. I don't want to have to, I wouldn't want people to have to take their kids out to Montague. We've talked a little bit about, and I'm going to jump around a little bit here. We've talked a little bit about people being able to come back to Yreka, and that's always been my issue. My issue is that Yreka has never, ever, ever, in the 37 years I've lived here, has never ever put itself out as a destination. We have the best fishing. Dunsmuir, Dunsmuir will advertise for fishing. You'll see their stuff in Sunset Magazine. Yreka doesn't say anything about going to the Klamath. I've always pushed, when I was on planning commission, to get people to, when we had some bed and breakfast on 3rd Street, to put those together in a package and get people in. I do think we need to get people in. So again, in that respect, if it were to bring people in, that's definitely important. However, when I look at people coming back to live here, I know that we had a wonderful letter from Dave and his wife. I think, isn't Anya an operatic singer, their daughter? So I don't think she's probably going to come back. We have Rosie Richards, who I taught in 5th grade, who I think will probably be a brigadier general in the U.S. Army within the next 7 to 8 years. She will be our 2nd general here in Siskiyou County.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's not coming back. There's no reason for her to come back. My daughter, she'd love to come back. She's got a master's in anthropology and exhumation of mass graves, 4 or more bodies. She's not coming back here. She's probably not even gonna, she's trying to get back over into England, where they do a lot of, move bodies around a lot in the cemeteries. And so I think that there are different reasons for people not coming back. And I'm not picking on anybody. Don't think I'm picking on anybody. So I look at, you know, when I moved here, I took a $6,000 or I think I took about a $6,000 or $8,000. No, it was a $16,000 pay cut. I don't know. When I moved up to teach at Jackson Street over there, I'd been teaching 6.5 years, and it took me 5 or 6 years, I guess it was, to get back up to what I was making. We don't pay up here what people, you know, enough for people to move up. Retired people, we have lots and lots of retired people, but as somebody pointed out, we have a lot of them moving. Again, I think people moving out of Yreka is not indicative of Yreka. I think it's indicative of the state of California. We are a state that is in complete and total disarray, and I don't blame Republicans and I don't blame Democrats. I blame them all. So, you know, I'll go there. I'm not sure when they quit working for me and you, but they don't anymore. I am concerned, I'm going to say this, I'm concerned that there's not been more buy-in, because I think that this committee has done a wonderful job of getting people together, but not more buy-in from high school and middle school. That really concerns me. And even when I've talked to people in their positions there, they've shied away from it. So that's concerning to me, that it doesn't seem important enough to them, because it is important to me. I also want to address, there's a lot of blame to go around on Ringy Pool, but it's not with this council and it's not with this city manager. I think you need to go back the last 10 to 12 years of councils and city managers. And I think Ringy has been mishandled clear back 10 or 12 years. And I wish that somebody would have stepped in and done something, but again, it was seen as a liability. It's the same reason I'm going to be very blunt about this, fellow councilmen and women. It's the same reason we're in the predicament we're in with the community theater. And the only reason it looks as nice as it does is because I thought Joan was here.
She is.
Joan Favreau,
Lady in red.
I'll pick on her, but and the Red Scarf Society have paid for grants to get in there. And the city we have not gotten in there and done things. Luckily, with our current city manager and with our interim city manager, we are able to, they've been working with Joan, I think, but I think it's all Joan and her group to get a grant to help us with that. So again, issues of maintenance they don't happen. They didn't just happen overnight. They don't happen over a year. They happen over 10 or 15 years. And I know that I've heard lots and lots of stories when I was on Historic Commission, Planning Commission, that there's this slush fund for the pool. There isn't. There never was. You know, there isn't. So, and I'm going to move on. So I like the passion on both sides. I really do appreciate it. I think, again, I'm going to go on. These are minor things, but I think we can, somebody mentioned something about the pool not being used for fires. We can dip out of that pool. We dip out of other things if we have to. And I think Jerry Lemus would probably, or Cal Fire would probably dip if they had to. I mean, you know, I know what's that? Yeah. Yeah. I heard something said tonight about we're looking at giving back flood hazard reduction grant money. Boy, I hope not. I know that's been, again, has been a long drawn out process. And again,
Matt's working on it.
we're not gonna put the blame on any, but it just goes back to an inability probably to manage and see the whole picture and, you know, not from us. I'm not gonna blame anybody here. I'm just gonna say in time, it's a lot of money and it's a large project. And there have been other, what's that?
There are multi-agencies and it takes time to
Yes.
negotiate with so many different groups.
There are other agencies involved, and even one of those agencies, which I won't remain, said, we're not going to spend any more time with our engineers on this. You figure it out. And it's like, no, we need you. So, let's see. I do believe, I really do believe we do need a pool. I'm so sorry we don't have a Parks and Recreation District. Again, that went away. I moved here in '86. That went away shortly after I moved. I don't know what the reason was. I wasn't involved in politics. I was only involved in doing my thing over at Jackson Street School. Yreka, I don't know what her last name is, but she made a great point. Fear is an emotion as well, and it is an emotion as well as an elation. And tonight, the five of us are going to make a vote based on fear and based on happiness, what we think we can look forward to, or what we think we're getting into financially. Because don't kid yourself, it's not going to be an easy road to get anything passed. I'm going to go on record as saying that I think a sales tax is the fairest way to do it. If you're going to tax, but I don't know if whether it'll go through or not. Somebody mentioned poverty. When I was principal at Jackson Street, I think we were 63 or 67% poverty. So that's gone up, and that's horrible. But again, that's an issue that this county's dealt with since I moved here. And I think that there's a lot of educators I see sitting out there, and I think they'd say the same thing, that have been here as long as I have. Finally, I look at some of the figures, and I look at CEQA, and I've already, the city manager, I've talked about this, the number $40,000 for a CEQA study, I think is high. I think it's double. If you would talk to N-Plan and some of the other companies down in Southern California, Redding and below, that do these sorts of things. After talking to people from that do this down there, I'm told that we probably won't get away without it. But I am told that 40 is probably high. But if we buy the property, we pay 20 or 40 for that. We're into it for $300,000. So we have to think about that. In closing, I will just say this: we do need a pool, and we do need to build a pool. I talked to Tahoe Truckee, who has a recreation district, who has a pool. They have a very nice setup. They did a bond issue in 2006 is how they built their pool, with a bond issue. Initially it was to cost $4.5 billion. It ballooned to a little over $6 million. Million.
Whoa.
Million. Sorry. I was talking about the California surplus there. Initially it was $4.5 million. It ballooned to a little over $6 million. So one of the things that their head of finance told me, she said, just make sure that you have whatever you build. Doesn't matter where you build it. It can be at Ringy, it can be up here, it can be on other city properties. Just make sure that you cover a 15-20% override. And then she said to me, and Paul, because of the cost of fuel and steel, I mean, steel's gone up like crazy. I think like roofing that I paid $7 a square foot is now 11.5. And I just roofed my home in here in Yreka in steel, and in October. So we talked about the maintenance, and she said they run year round. Now they don't run 7 days a week year round. In the winter, they only run like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. She said that basically they spend about $407,000 in maintenance, and they have about $178,000 that goes to staff. Now, again, I'm going to assume that does not include a park or recreation person. I was going to say guy, but that would be wrong. A parks or recreation person. Probably that's built into the general parks and rec budget. And I was just asking specifically for this budget. Their swim lessons and renting out the pool and for barbecues and things like that bring them in $109,000 a year. So they have about a $500,000 $1,000, I guess, or $520,000 shortfall. But she said, we have a beach in the Tahoe Truckee area. And she said, everybody comes there from Sacramento and San Francisco. And she goes, she goes, it makes buku bucks. And so that's how we fund the pool, which we don't have anything like that.
Could I ask you the population?
Tahoe Truckee?
It's 16,000.
Yeah, but it takes in some areas. Actually, the district that pays for the pool takes in clear to the county line, almost to the state line, goes down to Colfax and I'm trying to think of the other city down there. A couple of those cities where they've moved all the graveyards in San Francisco after the fire.
So the population that supports this is larger than the 16,000 boundary. Okay.
Yes, but the population that supports it is much larger because of the people that pay to come up to the beach, that the money then goes back into their pool budget. They're from San Francisco, Sacramento, Reno, Tahoe, probably Gardnerville, that area. So yeah, so it'd be like people coming down here to do something in Yreka, and you get, to do like a Brit festival, and you make, a couple $100,000 off of that and put it back in. So, I want to say those things. I'm really supportive of a pool. I don't buy everything that we're looking at, but I don't, there's things that I don't, we've looked at a splash pad before. One of the things that came out about the splash pad when we first looked at it, I think what Matt shared with us is that they're just too difficult to keep the chlorine managed in it. The chlorine is horrible to manage in it up in Medford. And in Medford, they only open the splash pads at 1 and they close them at 7. So case in point, and I will go off, I'm just gonna, and I want to hear what you have to say. The pool in Truckee, and I think I've shared this with a couple people. I found it interesting that they close the pool twice a year for 2 weeks to drain it. And then they have to refill it, and then they have to heat it. That takes another week or so. And when they are swimming, their lifeguards, every 50 minutes, everybody gets out of the pool. Lifeguards send everybody to the bathroom. And then they're out 10 minutes, and then they get back in. Because once there is a brown trout in the pool is closed and drained. And it's closed for 5 days, she said, usually 5 to 6 days when we do that. And she said, but we have to guarantee, she says, health department will not, allow us. So, that's something that when you go into pools, you don't really think about that. But we do have a lot of kids, school age, that will go into pools, and, there are other things we have to consider. Anyway.
We had to bring that up.
Yeah, we're like a brown trout.
I appreciate, we've had great dialogue. These men and women out here have given us great dialogue. They really have. And there are great points on each side. And it's a very passionate thing. And it's going to be passionate for the 5 of us tonight. Right. Very passionate. And, Jason's right. We shouldn't deal in passion. We should deal in numbers. But a lot of people do feel slighted that the city, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody here. Anyway, the city over 12 years has basically kicked this can down the road. That's what they've done. And yes, if we had a funding stream of 0.5%, we wouldn't be having this decision. We'd be going, we would have been like 2 years ago, we would have said, we're borrowing money, we're building a pool there, and we'll service the debt from that 0.5%. But because the city, again, I'm talking about people, I want to make sure, but the city along the way has kicked the can. We need to now figure out how to not kick the can any farther.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right, who wants to do the next matter?
You've been working on the pool a lot longer than I have.
Just about to burst.
Good evening, Councilman Middleton. First off, thanks to everybody who's come to speak, and to the young girl up here that got to the microphone. I still get 12 years old. I still get nervous talking up here. So it takes a lot of courage to get up and just, so you did a great job, and thank you. A little about me is a lot of us here, or Dwayne. I was born and raised in Yreka. I left in 2003 gone for 14 years to Sacramento and returned 5 years to be close to family. And I was one of the fortunate ones who got to come back and have a career and continue to live here and make a living. And so I'm very fortunate got to, that I got to have that opportunity to come back. When I was coming back to visit my parents throughout the years and just coming back to the town and just seeing it look worse and worse and worse, homeless, our community theater going downhill, Ringy Pool done, our police station falling apart. And that's infrastructure. Our town is old. A lot of stuff has been here for many years. I'm in real estate. The houses I sell, they're old, some new subdivisions have been built, not many. A lot of people are remodeling. A couple points I just want to touch on a few things is when, I just agree that, yeah, there is poverty in our town, but there is money in our town as well. There's a lot of wealthy people in our Siskiyou County in Yreka. We have people buying houses constantly that are coming from out of the area with a ton of money, whether people like that or not, they're like outsiders, so to say, but they're the people who are coming up and spending money in our stores, buying our houses, supporting my career. And people are saying, nobody can afford houses here. Yes, they can. They're buying them. We're in a short inventory and we're selling all day long. So saying that we're just a poor community and no one has money, and no one can afford to pay for an extra half-cent sales tax or property tax, I think is just not true. I think there is people out there who can and will pay for it to have amenities. When I was in Sacramento and Roseville, and even I talked to people who said, oh gosh, they have everything down there. Gosh, it must be nice. I love going down there because they have a pool, they have an aquatic center, they have this, they have that. They have that because the citizens pay for it. City of Roseville sales tax is 9%. City of Sacramento is 9.5%. And so the citizens vote for that and they get to have great things because the citizens step up to pay for it. So when people are saying, oh, we don't have nothing. Well, we don't have nothing because we're turning away from it, whether it's a sales tax or what have you. It's sad because a lot of the people I went to school with said, gosh, it's been the naysayers up there for so long. No, we don't want that. Nope, we're not going to have this. Nope. And saying that the pool's not going to fit in. Let me bring up some projects. Yreka Motors, did people think that building was going to fit in? Look how spectacular it is and look how many cars they're selling out there.
If they had them.
Yeah, if they had them, but they're selling, what a beautiful building. What an asset to our community. The Siskiyou Central Credit Union. No one's been inside of it. It's state-of-the-art facility.
Yeah.
Do people think that's going to fit in? But that's the changing of the ways. The courthouse, state-of-the-art. I mean, that's called replacing infill projects and updating our infrastructure with new building and new life and something that's not going to fit in, quote unquote. But this new, if we go forward, I think this new pool facility and park will be spectacular. And it's a shame that, a lot of projects have been kicked under the table. I'm with Paul, Councilman McCoy. It's just, we've turned our head for so long, swept things under the table, ignored the improvements of what we have. And this is what we're faced with today of, the police station was failing. I mean, the police department, police officers worked in flooding basement. I mean, just an old building for years. Did they think the police station was going to fit in? Did they think that was what it needed to look like? But it's beautiful inside. They have a great facility. Now our fire department's facing the same, scenario. It's going to have to be replaced. We're just, so there's tough decisions. It's going to cost money, and we're going to have to figure it out, and we'll figure it out fast where we're going to get it. And the citizens, hopefully if something that goes before the vote, for the voters or on the ballot, we'll think about that we're not going to achieve great things if we keep saying no and you don't chip in a little bit. Yeah, we all pay, you know. I don't have kids, but I still want a pool for the children. I stepped up to save the skateboard park. You know, I want it to be better, but they were going to yank it out. That's been the attitude for many years. Oh, it's failed. Let's take it out. No, let's not use the theater anymore. Let's close it. What a shame to close our town because you just don't want to deal with it. And so we found the funds. We redid the pavement at the park, put in a new, you know, with Matt and Ben. They stepped up to help me. Got a new ramp, repaved it, painted it, looks a lot better. I want it to be way better, but you know, hopefully we'll get there. There's a young kid who did a GoFundMe to make it better, and he reached out to me before about it. So I just think it would be a shame because I just don't think if we act on it now, we're just never going to have, you know, anything, and we're not going to move forward as a community. We're just always going to stay the same old Yreka, not having anything. And, you know, it's for Montague Pool. No, it doesn't work. Yeah, people are doing it, but I hear people saying, oh gosh, we have to go to Montague. It's a pain in the, you know, it's 6 miles, you know, and Yreka businesses have been supporting. You know, our company has written a check to sponsor a day out there for $300 or $400 for swim days. So the businesses have been writing checks to support the Montague Pool for our citizens to swim there. So people are writing checks, and I believe, you know, if it gets out there, our citizens will step up. So, like I said, I ran for city council when I came to town. I said, you know what, I want to make a difference in the town. I once knew that was thriving back in the day. You know, my dad was a log truck driver for years. He had to give that, you know, give that up when Spotted Owl. Everything kind of went away after that. But to see it fall apart was disheartening to me. And I'm, you know, there's tough decisions we have to make up here, and you know, they're hard decisions, but yeah, you know, emotions things, but I don't know. I just hope that we are in 2022, that we're progressing and not keep going back by just saying no, no, no to everything all the time. And yeah, it takes money, but with that, I will end. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my turn.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I too would like to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very impressive crowd. I think at one time I counted 60 people in here. And don't tell the fire department, but I think that we can seat 35 or something like that. So, but thank you all for being here. I see a lot of people in the community I've worked with. Just for a little background on how I fit into all this. So in June of 2018, it was opening day of the pool. And I received a phone call from my daughter-in-law, and my daughter-in-law had been driving to Ashland to the YMCA to swim and take a swim class. Anyway, and she was so excited because she lives here in town, right? Or used to. Now she's moved to a town that has a pool. But she called me and she said, Joan, the pool is closed. I said, what? And it was like 10 after 12, right? The pool closed, opened at 12 for open swim. And I said, no way. So I got in my car, I came right down, and there was Buzzy at the door. Krista was there. Krista. So Krista has got that deer in the headlights look, and we're having to turn people away, right? And Mary was the one walking down the street with a towel over her hand and her bathing suit on with her husband. And she almost cried. She was really upset. We didn't know at the time that it was never going to open again. We had hopes at that time. That was when I was mayor. And I pledged then and there that we would have a pool in Yreka again. At that time, we thought it would be Ringing Pool. And come to find out, there were just too many things wrong with the pool, and it was going to cost millions of dollars. We had to hire a team of people to come in and look at it, and that cost us money too. And they told us, how many million was it? 5 or 6 million at the time?
4.5 to
4.5, yeah, to
4.5 to remove it, and 5 or 6 to
fix it up again.
fix it.
Anyway, so I called a meeting of all the community leaders that I could find. That was the schools and Splash and elected officials and everyone. And we had it down at the newest building in town at the time, which is at the stage office. And we all met there and we discussed, what are we going to do? The YMCA was there from the beginning, and we certainly appreciate that. We had people from other cities come, and we talked about how we're going to fix it. And then we found Robin. And Robin was wonderful because she knew where the money was and knew how to write grants. And thank you, Robin, for all your hard work. To all the Splash people too, and all the community people. We held how many community meetings, Robin? 12 or 13?
First go round was about 10, I think, and the second go round was 8. So about
Yeah, so 18 meetings, and people came from the community. Nobody came from the community and said, shut that blankety blank pool down. Nobody did. We all sat down and worked together on how we could make it work. We talked positive, not negative. I get so tired of all that negative stuff. I want to find out how we can accomplish things. I want to find out how we can make this a better place to live, how we can support our kids as well as our seniors. We had a gentleman sitting in the back of the room. He just went home a few minutes ago. He goes down to the Baymont and he swims in a senior swim class because they have a little tiny pool there. And he really wants us to have a pool here, and he's got some ideas for funding. Anyway, so Bob Rice let me know on his way out the door. But I just wanted to tell you, there's been a lot of work going on, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate all our partners. But I wanted to tell you, you all know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The city of Montague has a pool. City of Montague has a population of about 1,500 people. The city of Weed has 2 pools. Okay, they have an indoor pool, they have an outdoor pool. They have a population of right about 3,000 people. The city of Dunsmuir, who has a really tiny population, like maybe 10 or 12, maybe 1 or 2,000, not even. I mean, they're really small. They have a pool. All these pools are open. City of Montague, somebody tonight called it our sister city. They indeed are our sister city. I called the mayor of Montague and I said, Tiffany, we have a problem. Our pool is closed and our kids don't have anywhere to swim. Can we work with you to bring our kids over? I called the YMCA. Scott, you were amazing. I went up to Scott at one of these public meetings and I said, Scott, can we work with the YMCA? Scott said, absolutely. Didn't even hesitate. I talked to Tiffany, the mayor of Montague. I said, can we bring our kids to your pool? She said, absolutely. I'll bring our pool manager. We'll have a meeting at the YMCA, which we did. I called over to the stage, and I sit on the Siskiyou Transportation Commission, okay? The local transportation commission. And we talked about waiving the cost for children to ride the bus from Yreka to Montague. This is a temporary solution, folks. This has been going on now for 3 years. This will be the 4th summer. So we managed to get the board, the commissioners to waive the cost for the kids to ride over there. We worked with the YMCA. The city pays for 2 employees now. It started out with 1, 2 YMCA employees to ride over with the kids and stay there with them for safety purposes. And we even got local Rotaries and other clubs to chip in for treats for the kids. Some of the kids would bring a lunch and some of them didn't have money for a lunch. We would provide food for them. So they got in free. They got a ride over there for free. And this last year or 2, we were also able to locate it from the stage where the kids didn't have to wait out front. We managed to locate a stage stop right in front of the YMCA So the kids could start there, sign up there, go over to Montague and back and be dropped off at the Y and be in a safe location where the YMCA staff were just great with the kids if their parents couldn't be there because they were working or for some other reason. Okay, that was a good temporary solution. Folks, that's not a long-term solution. Our kids have the right. My kids learned to swim at Ringy Pool. My grandkids have been to Ringy Pool here. They don't live here anymore. I used to, but I'd love to bring them back too, Paul. Excuse me, Councilmember McQuay. But I feel strongly, and I know that our city manager is going to tell me that that's an emotion. You bet your life it's an emotion. It's a passion. It's not just emotion. It's a passion. I feel strongly that these little tiny cities, these little bitty cities that have a pool, they can afford it. Is it easy? No. They have to have fundraisers. One of these many letters that I received in favor of the pool, by the way, I only got one in opposition to the pool, and I've gotten dozens of letters of support. And one of them suggested putting together a foundation. I think that's a great idea. If like Councilmember McCoy said, and Councilmember Middleton said, if people believe in it, I think that they will donate to it. But if we put together a foundation where that money can grow to help with maintenance and operation, M&O, if or O&M or however you call it, if we can put together a base for that money and people contribute every year, that money will grow. And I think it will help to support it. I don't like any of these. I don't like any of these options, none. I've got one of my own that I'm going to give as soon as you let me, Mr. Mayor. But I want us to think about it. I realize that, I appreciate the time and energy that our new city manager has put into this. I appreciate our new staff members that have put a lot into it, but I just get so tired of, no, we're too poor. I don't think that we'll ever again get an $8.5 million grant to do something like this. The same location that we're looking at for this, and the first grant that we wrote, as Robin said, we were denied because they said the area had too many parks and it was too affluent. Don't laugh. It's on Jones Street. And it's not that the houses aren't nice and the people aren't wonderful. That's not it, but for Yreka. But they said there were no parks on the east side of the freeway. And it was a less affluent area, which it is. So the state of California, the Parks Service, Parks and Recs, they thought that would be a better place to put it. Is that the most ideal location? It's probably not one that I would have picked, but it's there and it's approved. I do know that CEQA and plans and specification are all covered in the grant. I've got a copy of it right here. It's not something that has to come out of our general fund. It's paid for by the grant. It'll take more time. I've got to call in to our legislators, Assembly Member Megan Dolly and Senator Dolly. I'm hoping that they can help us on a timeline to increase that, because I know there were some people that were concerned about the timeline. I think it's doable. I think that we can work with our legislators on that and with the agencies. I'm going to think positive on it, but I don't know if you can tell, but I'm for this project. And I would really like to see it happen. Oh, I just wanted to mention Jerry Stalker. You made some really good points. Our city is about more than taxes and money. Our city is about families and people and the people that live here. And I appreciate what you said, because when my kids went from mom and me, okay, Corey left. I was just over there playing with the baby in between to calm down. And, when my kids were little like that, I took them to mom and me and I was in the pool with them. And that's where they started to learn to swim all the way up till they were teenagers. That's right. Jerry was absolutely right. That's the place that families go. And our kids have a right to learn how to swim. We have a lot of water bodies. We have rivers, we have lakes, we have a lot of water bodies, and our kids need to be safe. And they're not going to be safe here if they don't know how to swim. So That's my humble opinion, if you will, Mr. Mayor. And I have a lot more to say, but I think you get the gist.
Thank you, Jones.
Real quick, I'm sorry, I wanted to add something I forgot. I wrote it down, and then I'm gonna let Debbie go. Is Shingletown, besides Yreka, Shingletown was the only small population to receive a grant of this size of $8.5 million. It's all been larger cities. And Shingletown received one not too long ago, and I think it was 9 million. I forgot what it was for. I think a pool at a community center. Of course, they had a fire, but they received the grant. So Yreka's for being this population, as of recent, is the only small city like this to receive a grant this size. So it's pretty amazing, I think.
Right, but keep in mind, we may be a small city, but we're the largest population city in all of Siskiyou County.
Yeah.
Oh, do I have 3 minutes?
Yeah, you're down to 3 now. Jones took up some. You're down to 2 minutes.
At 2, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I hate to be Debbie Downer, but I am a lot more practical. I don't spend money that we don't have. I set up a plan. I set up a program. I plan things out. I have a goal date and I do what I need to do to get to that goal, and I still make it happen. I have to admit, I'm as concerned as our staff is with how to support this, and I don't want it to fail. I am in support of option B, I think it was, for Rini Pool, for a couple of reasons. One, we can fall back and follow a process that has been established on developing a program that is going to be successful. And not that this isn't. I think you guys have done amazing. It's that I'm afraid of the operational costs. I also, and I know it shouldn't matter about the location, but it does bother me. I like the idea of kids leaving their homes and walking to the pool in the same neighborhood. I think that's safety. I think families watch out for each other's children. I think there's nostalgia there, whatever you want to call it, but I do have concerns about the money. I do think the staff is well educated and know what they're saying. They're not going to lead us astray, and that's actually what they are here to do, is give us their best recommendation. But I do like Rini Pool, and I would certainly, I'll support anything that the voters support. So whatever decision we make here, I think the voters, the community should make that decision. And I know there's been a strong 300, 500 base of people to follow this through, and it's incredible the amount of support, but will it go the distance for when we need it to really kick in and support financially? I'm just real conservative. I want a pool and I want to keep it and I want it maintained. And I'm kind of bummed you guys aren't looking at some of the things that we've accomplished and are proud of. There are programs for kids. Everybody has a niche, an interest, a passion, except for the swimming pool. Got that. And we do need to pick up on that. But there are youth programs going on. There's senior programs going on. There's been new buildings. There's been new businesses. We do have a lot of other challenges that we're trying to work on, and hopefully everyone will consider at the next election if you can contribute and step up to the plate. If you think the decisions can be better made, please step up to the plate. But for me, I'm worried about the costs, and I don't see anything firm. So I'd say option B and put it to the community to vote on. And I don't do the bundling thing either. I think that's misleading to the community. So put it on for a parcel tax or a sales tax, but one item at a time, and don't confuse the issue. So people know exactly what they're voting for and what they're going to get. Sorry, Debbie Downer. Yes. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So the reason that cities bundle is to make it a general tax rather than a specific tax. With a general tax, it passes at 50%, and a specific one, if you just have one, then it's 66.
But to put a fire, a necessary service on with the recreational service, to me,
what you do
is a bad bundle.
What you do is you say, you put it on two measures, and you say, this is a general tax, but but the city will take direction that we're going to primarily use it for the pool, and then it's still a 50% vote to pass.
So clear definition on where it's going.
Correct. It still would be clear definition on where it's going. We've already done this, obviously. This has already been performed, so.
Yes, I was there and we got Measure C passed.
Yeah, I
on the
remember
radio,
Measure C.
And we did public safety and roads.
Yep.
So
And that's where it's went to.
But those are necessities.
Sure. Yep.
And not that a pool isn't a necessity for some families, I get that. But as a government entity, I think they're responsible for my safety, for education, for roadway, this kind of thing. These are necessities in my head. Yes, I want to go swim, but yeah, can I afford it? So, sorry.
No,
That's all.
That's what we're here for. So in conjunction to that, we said that that percentage sales tax would bring in $1 million, correct? Is that what you stated, Jason?
Yeah, somewhere around $1 million.
So if it was tagged for a dual purpose like that, then it could be said that, say, 500 goes to the fire department, 500 goes to that, correct?
Ultimately, any council at any point down the road, my understanding is it's a general fund money and they could redirect it after this council maybe retired out.
So which we've already done then, because we've already did Measure C, which brings in, I'm not sure how much it is, probably Reddit knows how much.
900,000 a year.
Which we, as of right now, that is primarily going to the infrastructure that we've proposed to do. So we're saying that that could go to get to change then, huh? Well, that's interesting.
You need a motion? You need a motion?
A motion
Do you need a motion?
to what?
Do you need a
He
motion?
hasn't talked yet.
I know, no.
Wow. You get 10 minutes and I get 30 seconds. Okay, thank you,
Oh,
Joey.
I thought you were tired.
Well, I am tired. I'm definitely tired. It's been, getting back to that, it has been a crazy year. Everybody knows the trials and tribulations, well, the past 2 years that we've been going through with this crazy pandemic and however you feel on that one, but also what we've been going through, trials and tribulations to this city alone. I mean, we have a new city manager, obviously. We have a new chief of police. We have a new finance director, new planning director. We're going through growing pains in the city. We've had a great staff in the past. Some of the trials and tribulations for what we're going through right this moment is because what Mr. McCoy stated is the can has been kicked down the road numerous times. And I know the people that have kicked it down the road, unfortunately. And it's something that should have been addressed years ago. This swimming pool that has now failed, Ringy Park, which was donated, the location was donated by obviously Ringy. And anyways, this has been kicked aside and whatever you want to say, swept under the rug or whatever you want to call it, but it's been down the road. This is something that should have been addressed 20 plus years ago, actually, not 10 years ago, but 20 plus years ago, and it hasn't been addressed. I know previous city councilmen, back when I was on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, they were talking about it back then. Jason Darrow was talking about it back then, and that was back about almost 12 years ago now. And they were trying to bring something forward at that point in time to save the pool, and it never was established. So we are here now at this point trying to make that decision. Is it an easy decision? No, it's not an easy decision. Financially, like Jason stated, and I thank Jason for bringing information, he's doing his job and he's doing it well. That we have a financial responsibility, but we also have we have a responsibility for our citizens in the community too. And as you were talking about, and Joan was talking about, she's gotten, quite a few emails and whatnot, and so have I. And since we've been here, I've gotten 4 text messages from people. So it's it's definitely a hot topic that people want a decision on and want us to move forward in a positive way, whether that means moving forward with the old pool or if that means moving forward with the new pool. And it's not every day that you're going to get handed $8.5 million, whether you believe in grants or not. That's something we're getting back from the state that we paid into, plain and simple. Don't make any comments, sir. Thank you. And it's one of those things that we need to look at the overall picture. Like Corey was stating earlier, that we have a new all these new things going up, and those are people that have visions of Yreka, or visionaries. They're visionaries that believe in Yreka, that believe that we can have something better for Yreka. I've lived here all my life. People know that. I grew up taking swimming lessons, and I'm glad I did, because before that, I didn't know how to swim, and I almost drowned one time. So knowing how to swim is a valuable asset. Will bring in other people. Yeah, it's going to bring in other people. It's going to bring in a new vibe for this community. We're getting so much positive feedback in this community because we're making a difference. The citizens are making a difference. The people are believing in Yreka again, like it was when I was a kid. And I loved seeing that inspiration of people believing in Yreka again. And it's amazing to see that vibe going on again, because it's needed. This is a community that has built such a huge thing that we don't want to tear it down anymore. It started getting tore down back in the 80s, like Corey was saying, during the logging, when the spotted owl issue came up. Ever since then, the community's been struggling. We're starting to see new life in this community, and it's time that we move forward in this community and keep that momentum going. Keep it a positive thing. We see a lot of art going on in this community. We see a lot of positive things in this community. I think, it's getting back to what we're talking about, the sales tax is, there's no surefire answer. But if we, and I want to be correct if I'm wrong, is there the option, if we did the sales tax, Mr. Ledbetter, if we did the sales tax and it got shot down, well, obviously we got to move forward. If we do this, we're moving forward with purchasing the property from the county. We have to go through certain parts of CEQA or whatever we have to go through on that part. So it'd be out that money, but it's still land that we could still use for something or sell if we had to in the future. If that tax measure failed, is that something that we could then do something with the land and move forward with? And Don, you could probably answer that too, as far as a surplus land part of that. Is that something that we could then sell?
We'd
have to pay back the grant. We'd have to pay back the grant, yeah.
Yeah, so we would pay back the grant and take ownership as just a normal parcel. And then certainly we could either surplus it or look at other options for that. And that's really what staff is requesting tonight, is mitigated risk and a safeguard. If you in fact want to move forward with option A, is that if that tax fails, if you choose that option, that you are also making the motion tonight that we at that point abandon the grant, send the money back, write the letter, send the money back, pay whatever we spent from the grant out of the general fund.
I just want clarification on that, so everybody knows that part of it too. So many different levels to this. It's not an easy one. I just know that we need to keep some type of momentum going in this community of positive things. And the only way we're going to do that is to look to the future and not keep dwelling on the past of how the pool has failed. And even myself, it's, we talk about emotions. Well, there's a lot of emotions going on in that, swimming pool that we had in Ringy Park. I mean, I spent a lot of hours in Ringy Park, lots and lots, not only in the swimming pool, but right next door playing baseball for years and years and years and years. So it was where I started playing. So there's a lot of good things that came out of that park, and it's hard to step aside from those emotions and make a proper decision financially for the city and for the community. And in this instance, for me, I set aside my emotions and I listened to the community. And in my eyes, the community has spoken to me of what they want. So that's all I can say is that I feel that we should move with option A because that's what the community wants to see. And that's what I'm here for that. So now I think we're at that point is unless the council wants to share any more, then we need to talk about which direction we want to go. Does the council want?
The chair can make a motion.
Very true. Well, then I will make a motion that we take option 1, not A, but it's actually option 1 in this, which is the tax proposal.
Council Middleton, I will second Mayor Kaig's motion.
I hate to argue against myself, but I think I think it's important that you're saying one thing and you're making a motion about another thing. And that is a partial assessment on option 1. And it sounds like you're interested in a
motion
sales tax motions.
on sales tax.
I thought it was a sales tax.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought it was a
Let's,
sales
yeah,
tax. I'm
sorry.
Well, I have
No,
a substitute motion that includes a sales tax.
yes,
Would you like to
that
do
would make more sense. Yes, I
Okay.
don't want a parcel.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was.
So I have a substitute motion that says,
Do you want to state it? Thank you.
please, prepare for the Siskiyou County November 2022 general election, a 1/2-cent general sales tax ballot measure to generally fund the pool, parks, fire, and other essential city services.
Now, before she can, her motion can be seconded, you have to withdraw your.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was a substitute.
And just to be clear on the motions, because the option presented by staff is there would be direction based off of the success or failure of that tax measure. I'm just pointing out that that is not within the motion of Ms. Smith Freeman.
It's a different motion.
Right, correct.
Withdraw and I'll withdraw my.
Yeah, no, I will withdraw my motion and reinstate what Joan has.
I'd like clarification again. Could you
Okay.
read that again?
Sure.
Before each does that, I'll
Sorry.
withdraw my
I just wrote it out.
second.
Okay, prepare for the Siskiyou County November 2022 general election, a 1/2-cent general sales tax ballot measure to generally fund the pool, parks, fire, and other essential city services.
Correct. That's the main reason what she just stated on that is the fire protection also is what
Well,
makes
it's
sense.
going to bring in,
Yes. that
it's going to
bundling
bring
thing.
in, I think, by the time we get new businesses and other things that are going on, I think it'll bring in around $1 million or a little over $1 million, which is more than we need for the pool. So it'll be
And
for other things.
So in conjunction to that, Mr. Hennon, did you see any issue with what she's proposing?
Well, just like Jason was saying, it doesn't say that if the measure fails, we will be canceling the grant.
True,
No, it doesn't.
true.
I would like that included.
Probably. If it
Sorry.
doesn't pass, we don't have the money to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't got a second in
Oh.
yet.
Mr. City Manager, may I ask you a question?
Yes,
What is our current state sales tax?
7.75. So we would be increasing to 8.25.
And is the state going to stay at 7.75 or is it going to be dropping that?
I would need the support from the assistant city manager or finance director to answer that question. I am not sure of that answer.
Retta?
So no.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, can I have clarity on a point that you made? You asked the city manager in regards to a general sales tax, any general sales tax, about how that sales tax could be spent. And I believe the city manager responded that it can be moved by the city council anywhere that we would deem it necessary. And I'm unclear, did you hint at all at the current sales tax that we have, at using that to fund part of the pool if we needed it?
It was.
Not a trick question. I'm just trying to clarify for myself.
Right.
I don't want you to think I'm trying
No,
to
that was
trick
something
you.
I wanted to make aware of to the public, that it can be switched around what we already have, yeah, because that's obviously something that's general fund and not, is earmarked, we earmarked it as that, so under our administration, I would say no, but that's, in the future, could be.
You've answered my question. Thank you, sir.
So.
No second.
Not, well, we haven't got really a motion yet. We've just.
Oh,
You just
stated it
clarified, you
twice.
clarified that, but we haven't,
Seconded, no second.
I guess there's some confusion on that because of the clarification of.
If it
whether or
doesn't
not we
pass.
Would get, yeah.
Yeah, because if it doesn't pass,
Right.
we don't have the money, so I think that would have to be added to that.
And my concern is that it might jeopardize going back again for the fire department.
Oh, true.
Are we talking tonight about going back for the fire department? Is that something that's on our agenda? I'm not, okay, I'm trying to clarify what we're actually talking about, because I don't want to muddy the waters with.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then the only other thing I can state too is with this new proposal, new motion, that it's not necessarily what the citizens have come here for to discuss. So that makes it a little bit more confusing on what they're, came in here for.
Okay, well, if I could make a point of clarification. So this is on the November 2022 general election.
Right.
If we go forward with the pool, it won't be built until 2025, I think. So if it did fail the first time, we still have time to go back. The original fire tax was that Measure H, Jerry? Measure H went to the public 3 times before it passed. So, that's something that we might have an opportunity, and also might have an opportunity to find other funding through a foundation or another situation.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
If you were to just take option 1 and insert, instead of parcel tax, sales tax, then you've got what?
We need
the wording.
Except for saying general fund for the
It'd be
pool,
sales
parks,
tax with general
recreation,
fund.
fire, and other essential city services.
That makes sense.
Because that doesn't say that.
Are
Just
you
says it's-
withdrawing your motion?
Well, if I don't have a second, then I guess I'll have to withdraw my
Yes.
second, yes.
The motion hasn't come forward yet.
Not really composed yet.
Oh,
We're trying to get clarification of it.
I thought it
Yeah.
was.
She's clarified it twice.
With all due respect, Councilman Freeman,
Clarified it. If
I know you've
somebody else
clarified it,
wants to-
but I understand you clarified with all due respect. But I mean, I don't think we feel that it's come forward. We're not saying no to it, or we're not saying yes to it. We're just
So if this is
waiting
just-
it,
So
make
let
sure.
me just ask a
If this
question.
is just your motion with no exceptions, then.
Well,
then-
let me ask a question. Can I do this? Can I ask if somebody would second it? Okay, so if I added that portion to it, would I get a second?
Yes.
That's I don't know. If
Okay,
it's-
then
to
I
say
will-
that, but I guess.
I will add that. I will add that to it reluctantly. I would add that to it.
So clarification of what that is.
Mhm. That's the
Dawn?
last part,
It would
whereas.
be that proceed with work, authorization, to expend funds to seek a property acquisition and engineering pursuant to the grant award. And should the ballot measure fail, provide direction to stop effort on the project and prepare a letter to California Park and Recreation returning the grant award.
I want to take that part out. I don't like that.
Well,
I don't want to give it back.
is that what you want? You just made the motion. Is that acceptable motion of what he just said, or do you want to leave it at what you had? That's where we're at.
Well, if I won't get a second, I'm going to have to do something different. So,
Because we don't have the money if we don't get that. If we don't pass that vote, we don't have the money.
So,
we have till 2020.
2025.
so also looking
have
at
to
the,
go back to
looking
plan
at the
B.
short term, I'm sorry, Councilman
Okay.
Middleton, but looking at the short term, if we started the process of CEQA tomorrow, we'd probably be done in November. That's when we would be done.
Yeah.
So, because CEQA is not a quick, I don't care what anybody says, it's not a
No.
quick process. Never has been for us here. And, it's, I have somebody in the family that did it for a number of years, and it's not a quick
No,
process.
it's not going to be a speedy process.
No.
By
We
no
just need to be aware of that, and our the constituents need to be aware of that too.
Mhm. Yep. So here we are again.
I still haven't got a second, so.
Did you add it?
Did you
I
add
did,
it?
I added
Oh,
it and I didn't get
okay.
a second, or did I? I didn't hear it.
Okay, well, I didn't hear you. Okay, so you're going with what Dawn said.
Right,
Okay,
not because I want to.
right. Okay,
Okay.
with the amended
With the amendment
motion
version,
that Councilman Freeman has presented with-
through Dawn.
through Don, the half cent sales tax or the wording. I will second the motion.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second. Okay, now we can move forward. I'll do roll call. Paul McCoy,
It's a tough one because if we ran a business like this, we'd be bankrupt.
Yeah.
But I also believe that you do have to keep the dream alive. And I do believe that this city has kicked the can for years. Again, not picking on anybody, but I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote yes on it.
Corey Middleton,
Yes.
Joe Smith Freeman,
Aye.
Debbie Baird.
No.
I will just say that I agree that it's been kicked along too long. And I think this gives the citizens the opportunity to make that decision by putting it up for a tax initiative with, in conjunction to the fire department and fire protection. Both will be something that the citizens will have to vote on. And so, and that means I will say yes.
From the voter hands.
Righty.
That was tough.
Oh, Councilman.
I don't have administration. I've done state.
So to me, that's the way it was.
I know.
Yeah, you're gonna go to that.
Thank you. Oh, the.
And there's no percentage just beyond that amount. So it can be.
We are taking a 3-minute recess. Juliana, we're taking a 3-minute recess.
Yeah, well, thank you. My intention certainly wasn't to offend anyone on the council.
No,
so,
it's not. No. And I think we all know that, and I think the audience knows that. And I think it's, your point's well taken.
Thank you.
That's why I usually have my tablet. All righty, then we, with the permission of the council, I would like to move 10. 10B, yeah. Yes, 10B to the next order. So 10B, is that okay for council? We move it?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for patiently waiting. So we have new business discussion, possible action, public works, adopt a resolution of the city council of the city of Yreka approving requests associated with the special event known as NorCal Cross to be held on May 14th, 2022. Mr. Bray, start it
Mr.
off.
Mayor and members of council. Tonight we have Mr. Brett Butler, who has fought his way through the insurance requirements of an event of the city of Yreka at the park. And it's similar to other cyclocross events we've had in the past. And I think it's going to be a bang up job. And Brett's here to speak to you about that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
No.
I was trying to be. It's not my strong point.
Yeah. All righty, go ahead.
Well, let's see here. I haven't really told anybody, but I was getting possible to change to like a regular mountain bike race. Actually, technically cross season is September to like January 1st. So that is my first, what shall we call it, notion. I'm gonna try maybe have a regular mountain bike race, and I guess what are we doing? Second week of May, and not really prepared here, but I wrote a small like I don't know, couple of notes here. So I'm gonna do it at Greenhorn Park, and I got a hold of my friend or the insurance guy gave me the head director of Humbug, and he said you have to have a permit to do the big loop. So I guess I'll just do lapped race like down below, or maybe I want to do the single track, which I still believe leaves the park. So I just have like a couple, not really notes here. So I was gonna do like 2 laps, like I don't really have a map in front of me. So it'd be like the, I don't know what you call it, upper single track that comes all the way back to the lake, maybe 2 laps. And then like the next class I call it sport would be 3 laps of the ditch trail. And maybe the beginner would do like one lap of the ditch trail. And just do like my signups on the parking lot, I guess the upper Greenhorn Park. I didn't take
On
much
the day of
notes.
the event?
Huh?
On the day of the event, or are you online for their applications?
As of right now, it's gonna be day of event. Kind of unprepared here. Still trying to do this whole thing by myself. So quick background here. I just moved up here, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And I've been helping my friend, Keith. I don't know, he's kind of, this guy I know for the last 10 years that does the events a little more, what should we call it, established down south. And so he does cross, he does mountain bike, and he does road down south. And so definitely more established, like organization, I guess. Yes.
Can you turn this into a mountain bike race and keep it on the map that you already shared with council? It just number of loops, but on the actual map? that we've worked out?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
my advice is that it's still fine if he wants to switch it to a mountain bike race, it's because he's out of cyclocross season.
Yes.
As long as we stay on the map, we wouldn't have to change anything, and we wouldn't have to come back and bring it to him again.
Yep.
So you can make the laps however you want. That's, you're here for permissions from the council.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
because That would be similar to other mountain bike
Correct.
races we've had out there.
Correct, very similar to what we did.
Yeah, I don't really talk about that.
You have any other questions, council?
I'm looking at this, permission put on the cyclocross mountain bike ranch race, on Saturday, 8 to 1. Am I not hearing what weekend it is?
It's May 14th.
May 14th. Is that correct, Brett? May 14th is.
Yeah, that's, yes. Yeah, that's the tentative date you guys gave me. Of course, I was hoping sooner. But yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay, and he's got all the insurance part all filled out, so I assume.
Correct.
Okay.
Where, Matt, where this goes off into the white, that is still city property? It's not private property?
Yes, the map has explained the city.
Thanks.
Great.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
What's that?
Public comment?
Yes. Yes.
Everybody left.
I don't know if we have anybody, but is there any public comment at this point in time?
Nobody's here.
Good on that end? All right, great.
I'll make the motion to approve.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Paul McCoy, a second by Joe Smith Freeman. I'll do roll call. Paul McCoy.
Aye.
Corey Middleton.
Aye.
Joe Smith Freeman.
Aye.
Debbie Baird.
Aye.
And I, Dwayne King. All right, great. Thank you, Brett.
Thanks.
Have you been introduced to John at the bike shop?
I may have been to that little shop like once or twice.
Okay, because he would be a lot of help and support for you.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Awesome.
And welcome.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a good one. You made it through.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to number 10A now, discussion of possible action, public.
Thank
works.
you.
Adopt a resolution declaring 2 city-owned properties as surplus land and authorizing the city manager as designee to take implementing actions necessary to comply with the surplus land acts. And this one is going to be starting off with Jason or who? Who wants to talk? Jason or who?
Yeah, so we have 2 properties on Campus Drive that we are basically requesting go into surplus, and by this resolution, there should be a map in your packet. And so this is the normal process to first and foremost have a resolution to claim them surplus before we move forward by eventually possibly putting them on the market.
Alrighty, so I'll open this up for the public. Is there any public comments at this point in time on questions for either Jason or the city council? Nothing? Okay, I'll bring it back out to the council now. Council, do we have any questions, concerns? I think we've went over this and looked it over thoroughly. I think all of us have looked it over thoroughly, so.
A few times.
Yes.
Mhm.
Any questions?
Mhm.
You saying a motion, did you say, Debbie?
Absolutely. I will move that we do this because you have my paper.
I gave it back to you.
Oh, okay. I'll move that we adopt a resolution declaring 2 city-owned properties as surplus land and authorizing the city manager or designee to take implementing actions necessary to comply with the Surplus Land Act, Government Code Sections 54220. That's it.
And I'll second it.
Oh,
Maybe
Corey
beat you to it. I'll do roll call now. Paul McCoy.
Aye.
Corey Middleton.
Aye.
Joan Smith Freeman.
Aye.
Debbie Baird.
Aye.
And I, Dwayne King. Okay. Shit's carried. Now we will move into city manager reports.
Mine is going to be extremely brief. I spent a lot of time working on this pool item, and so
Yes, you did. Thank you.
really beyond that, thank you. And I know that was a difficult topic to discuss tonight, but we will now move forward with legal counsel, Mr. Don Henyon, on the tax measure. Other than that, the only thing that I did participate in that I can recall at at the moment
It's been a blur.
is I joined Councilwoman Joan Smith Freeman down in Folsom for a League of Cities meeting where a number of items were discussed, primarily SB 1383. I am also headed to kind of the regional city manager meeting on Thursday in Paradise, which should be very interesting to see what's transpired after a very devastating fire in that location. Hopefully we'll be able to see the shelter in Chico that just went up, because there's some probably good information there. But other than that, folks, I got nothing else for you. I am going to concede here or cede my time. So thank you.
Any other staff want to have a report? I know Mark's been a busy boy. Chief Gilman, so. Yeah. All right.
To the gentleman from, oh.
Well, then I will move to Councilman's report. Joe?
No, you heard my report. Actually, I've been sick. I've had a cold and just now getting over it. So the two main things is that I did go down to, as you know, I'm the past president of our division, and I'm now on the state board of the League of California Cities, also affectionately known as Cal Cities. And the president of the whole organization was going to be down there. And so it was held in Folsom. There was a big, somebody got, we didn't know about that because the meeting wasn't at the jail. Yeah, it was really nice. It was like 80 degrees down there. It was good, but we had some really good speakers. One, is Jerry still here? Jerry, I have the card for you for the fire chief for Jason. The fire chief was from Placerville? No.
Rancho Cordova,
Rancho
maybe?
Cordova. And he was the speaker there, and they've just come up with a brand new plan on fire. They didn't call it fire suppression. They called it fire planning, fire control. And I asked him if it'd be okay if I passed his card on to you, because I told him that we were working on, something similar here, that, we want to make sure our town is safe. And he said gladly, he would love to talk to you. So I've got his card for you. That was really the most interesting part. I thought he was a great speaker, didn't you? He really had some good ideas.
Yes, he had some wonderful data about which homes survived in Paradise and why they survived based off of different factors of the home itself.
Right. And it's, but it was a different approach than anything that I've seen before, and different way of measuring risk for homes and areas, and also different ways of planning to manage the risk by knowing where the risk would come from the freeway or from, another point. So anyway, I think that was definitely worth it, and good speakers as well. The other two things were Councilmember McCoy and I. He from Arizona for the first one, me sitting here. And then yesterday here, we had two finance committee meetings. So thank you, Jason and Retta, and Juliana wasn't there. Anyway, we had, and Matt, I think was there for part
She's
of it.
hiding.
And Emily, she was sitting right there. Yeah, I thought they were good. They were good meetings, and a lot of the information then came to you, like the investment policy. So those were the highlights. And the cold wasn't my favorite part. This was nasty. I haven't had a cold in years because we've been wearing masks for years. So
That's it. I gotta move on around. Debbie.
Oh, really?
I gotta shake it up.
Oh, shoot.
Go
Okay.
crazy. Watch out.
Okay, so we're back to doing, for Friends of Fair Bar Services, we're back to doing the bars after 2.5 years. And we bartended for the Farm Bureau. Boy, what a packed house. It was crazy. But the interesting one that 2 out of 3 of us did Wednesday night was there was a Forest Service workshop Wednesday night at Miners Inn, about 50, 60 people from all over the United States. And they were there to learn how to get seeds out of pine cones.
Oh my.
Yes.
Just ask the squirrel.
Yeah, I know. But the only reason I mention that is that we're a draw for people from all over the United States for specific workshops. Yeah, for seeds. Yeah, for seeds, of course.
Yeah.
Red has a farm just for that.
Seriously?
Yes. So he's had it for about 20 years.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Right on the
It's
west
close.
side road.
Yeah. And this coming weekend is the Second Amendment bar that we'll be doing. And I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm gonna move on to mine, then I'm gonna move on this way. So we're gonna, like I said, get real crazy.
30 seconds.
Get really crazy tonight. 30 seconds? Geez, why does my time always get cut the shortest? I'm gonna start going first from here on out, I guess. Jeez. Everybody thinks I talk too much or something.
Oh, no.
Anyways, I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet. We have a meeting tomorrow for the COC. There's nothing huge on the discussion. I know Jason has been working diligently with the county, trying to get something going for future homeless shelter.
Yes, and preceding that meeting, there'll be 2 other meetings with Sarah Collard and Madeline concerning the warming center and the shelter. So
Perfect. So we're moving forward on something positive. Thanks to, actually, I can say thanks to Jason. Jason's been a go-getter on pushing forward on some of this stuff. So thank you. Other thing that was expressed to me, I've had some people asking about the shopping cart ordinance again. I was wondering where were we at on that one? Because I know we were waiting for them to draft up a plan. They had to, I know the businesses had to draft up a plan.
No, it's a permit.
A permit plan, yeah.
So someone, and it's not on my desk, is putting the permit form together for businesses to fill out. And then they'll, of course, fill out how they're, going to be compliant with everything.
All right.
Yeah.
So as soon as we get that resolved, then we can start moving forward. Because I know you said, how many did we have out there again? 180 something?
187 from Walmart. I'll have probably everyone from Mark. And he picked them all up from Payless. There's probably 300 out there right now.
Holy moly.
And we've got them sitting right over the well, which is probably not a good idea anyway.
Yeah, since it's so easy to contaminate it. So.
Yeah, so I mean, it'd be nice if somebody would come out and pick up something.
Yeah. So anyways, okay, well, I was just kind of curious on that. So we'll just wait for that and get to move forward on that.
yeah, ultimately it is technically effective based off of the timing of the ordinance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I think that the focus of code enforcement over the last couple weeks has been primarily based around some properties that need to get abated. And so,
Very busy.
yeah, I'll reach
So
out.
don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to point any fingers. I was just curious. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to, I know that she's been very, very, very busy. So no.
But I'll reach out to Mr. Gilman back there and we'll talk about where we're at on that ordinance.
Like I said, it's one of those issues that I was just curious. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I just wanted to know. So I just wanted, it's like one of those things we've pushed for so long. And so we want to keep moving forward. So cool. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. Let's move on. Corey, your turn.
I'm gonna pass. We've been here 5 hours. Go ahead.
Remind everybody that Lola dinner is coming up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you need to let everybody know. I think, so don't forget that. And I was thinking it was at the Asian restaurant, it's not, it's the community center. Or Rotary Meats.
Right.
Right, John? Or Rotary Meats.
Oh, yeah, it's in the back rotary room at the community center in Montague. Right.
They're gonna fit us all back there.
I want to,
They did last time, remember?
Go ahead. It's his turn.
I want to thank Jason Ledbetter for putting together numbers for us. We made a decision. We knew it's going to be unpopular with half of our people that we talk to every day, our friends and stuff, and our friends and neighbors. And we knew it would be popular with half of them. Jason was doing his job. He did it,
Yep.
did it well.
Did.
He has come into a very difficult situation that you have noted, Mr. Mayor. We've hired all new department heads except for one. And
He's right there.
personally thank Mr. Ledbetter for putting that together and being honest with us. And now it's on us. This is on us. If
Yep.
it doesn't succeed, we need, it's not on him now.
Nope.
So, and I want to, I shared this, I think maybe with Mr. Ledbetter and Mr. K. I had the pleasure of being out of state for 2 weeks, taking care of my sister-in-law, who's in the second phase of Alzheimer's after 10 years. And so we were out a lot because we can take her out to walk and we can get her tired. And it's, you see one ice cream shop and then we walk back. She goes, "Oh, we haven't gone past that. Can we go get ice cream?" She goes, "Yeah, we have ice cream." And what I saw when I went, a number of things in the city of Jerome, what was a brand new firehouse, about 10, 12 years old. But for anybody who's been in Jerome, they know that there's 4 blocks. And you do this as you go through Jerome, it's a copper town, and every one of their fire engine has to be custom built because they're so short.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and
Kinda
so
like us.
the
That
fire-
sounds familiar.
They were showing us around there. But the second thing was the homeless issue in
Cottonwood, Prescott.
Prescott, sorry. Thank you, Jason. The homeless, they actually, the city didn't do this. The city gave permission to a nonprofit. And the nonprofit got meters donated for cars.
Oh, yeah.
And they took out the timer.
Yep.
And the city gave the ability, it's a little bit larger city, put 12 of them around. And anybody that wants to put quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies in that, and they make about 15,000 to 20,000 a year off of that. And I thought it was, and they have a big sign there and on each one, and it says, the city has given permission and so, and it pays for a lot of food, like
Yeah.
food banks and stuff. And I thought,
That's cool.
I'll try and develop pictures and share.
That's
it
cool.
with you.
That's
And
very
I think
cool.
I sent you a picture.
Yeah,
and
you
I think
did.
I may have sent you one. When I saw it, I was just, oh, it's pretty good.
That is.
But they have a homeless problem just like we do, so.
Yeah.
And then in closing, I just, I want to thank Jerry, and I know that Jerry and Mark have had a busy couple weeks.
Yeah, say the
They both
least.
look kind of tired.
That's why they're like,
MRC staff, Retta, Juliana, Matt, particularly because he's met with me a couple times in the last week or two, and Jason and Emily for getting the figures, doing their due diligence.
Yep.
Even though city council didn't, it just, we appreciate what you do
Yep.
every freaking day.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And in regards to that, meeting adjourned.